Hi there, very good evening. Welcome along to the MODUS Super Series. It is the second part of Championship Friday here from the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. And in and around 24 hours time, we'll know who the new name of this spectacular trophy is going to be. It's not going to be Luke Littler. It's not going to be Keona Whitehead or Jim McEwen, the reigning champion either. Well, it's been an intriguing Group B so far, and here is who's in action tonight.
Hello.
Goodbye. The sick play. Andy Bolton.
Just taking his time, and that is the bullseye. That is a 170 finish there for Scott Taylor.
Because Reece Colley wins by 4 legs to 1. Double top.
James shot on the first
Very nice.
Ron Moulenkamp. James shot on the fifth leg.
What would you say if you were in the local and you saw that? Good guide.
Well, it is a group littered with prolific winners of titles everywhere you go, and in around 24 hours time they'll be hoping to lift this trophy. Paul Nicholson's been watching every single dart that's gone in this week. He joins us in the studio now. Paul, before we talk about Group B tonight, let's have a little reflection on what we saw this afternoon, because we put two more names into tomorrow evening's Champions Night. Cam Crabtree and John O'Shea making it through to the big occasion.
Yeah, John will be really pleased that he's won through 2 Group C campaigns in the last 8 days, and he really did show a lot of calmness under pressure today, and getting things done with a little bit of time to spare as well. Not a massive amount, but just about enough, made it a rather stress-free promotion into Saturday. And I just get the feeling that Crabtree was very ready for this challenge. He's been through Group C toil before, winning and not getting it done. So getting through to his first Champions Night, I know he's elated, as is John.
Yeah, we'll see them in the big occasion. Reminder, it's a 7:30 p.m. start tomorrow night on the Super Series YouTube channel for Champions Night. Well, we are going to confirm the last 3 names through in Group B. Let's break down the tournament bracket, because the first name through to tomorrow night is Tom Sykes. He was the winner of Group A on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday respectively. Confirmation there of Cam and John's place into the final, and it'll be 3 from the 5 of Scott Taylor, Andy Bolton, Dan Webster, Ron Moulenkamp and Reece Colley that will make their way into tomorrow evening's finale. Well, last night's Group B has certainly caught the headlines away from the Super Series. It was a tense night both on and off the hockey at points. And look, this is a competition where players are playing for a £20,000 first prize, and sometimes emotions can be something that comes as a consequence of prizes and events like this.
It's nothing new. We're not surprised by dart players having a disagreement on stage, no matter what it's about. It doesn't really matter what it was about yesterday, and we will reference it throughout the course of the broadcast. But when the stakes are higher, the pressure is higher, and there are consequences for that. It's a question of how people roll on from said incidents. And now we put those players under the microscope and we ask them the question of, can you qualify for Saturday? Can you still try and get towards winning this trophy? It's up to them to answer it.
We are going to hear from both Ron Moulenkamp and Dan Webster over the course of this broadcast about the incident that happened in their particular match last night, which did harbour headlines away from the Super Series. Both players have been given the right to reply, and we will hear their replies throughout the course of the programme. But let's make sure the darts does the talking this evening and have a look at the table following the first day's worth of play. It's Scott Taylor who should on most weeks get the headlines for topping Group B overnight. His numbers over the course of the last week and a half have been superb. He's played 46 matches and has had 38 averages in excess of 90.
We shouldn't really be surprised by this, Henry, because we're talking about a player that is a very, very good player. Maybe one of the elite players at this level. And when you're seeing someone who has not got tour privileges putting in numbers in an environment that he's comfortable in here, we shouldn't be surprised when he's putting in the odd 105, which he has done this week. Strangely, I was talking to Laura off the air a little bit earlier today, and we were talking about the fact that Scott didn't seem like he was 100% last night, but still averaged 96 for the night. There are people out there who would dream of doing such a thing over the course of 4 games. If that is what Scott can do when he's not 100%, what can he do when he's got everything going for him? And he's still top of the table, even though he wasn't 100% in my book.
Let's have a look at the outright betting then and tell you what the bookies think about this evening's proceedings. Scott Taylor goes off a very heavy 2-7 favourite. Maybe not a surprise based on the way that he's played. So are we looking at the other odds in the markets on 1 Moolenkamp of Reece Colley, Andy Bolton, etc. as to those that maybe they'll feel like has a better chance of progressing into Saturday night as opposed to winning the group?
Yeah, I think that it's more about just getting in the top 3. I know that Scott would love to win Group B for the 2nd consecutive week because it served him brilliantly 7 days ago. But if you're Reece Colley at the minute, your job is very simple. Get off to a flyer, get yourself as close to double-figure points as you can in the first half of play tonight and complete the job. For Andy Bolton, who was probably left leaving this arena last night tearing his hair out, thinking, what have I got to do to squeeze through a 4-3 scoreline? It's pretty much one mission for him tonight. I'll just get 3rd spot and I'll just move on to Saturday and try and get the big check.
Certainly the case. Right, let's have a look and see what the bet builder is saying tonight then. This is what you're having a punt on at home. Most 180s in the Colley Bolton game to go Reece's way at 6-4. Highest checker over 94.5 in the Colley versus Taylor match. And 1 Moolenkamp to win his game against Dan Webster at 4-6. That pays just over 6.5 to 1 this evening. Your thoughts on that, Paul?
I think that's smashing. I think Colley getting more 180s than Bolton is a fabulous try. I don't think we had a great deal of 180s last night, but the highest check out of that match with Colley and Taylor, I think there are going to be a lot of chances around 101 or possibly around 96 to 125. I think that's the kind of range that we're looking at with those 2 heavy scorers. And with match winner Moolenkamp, I think he will feel a lot better about coming into that game than Darren.
18 plus, speakgambleware.org if you want to have a flutter on the Super Series this evening. Well, it's that real exciting point, isn't it, on a Friday of Champions Week here at the Super Series, because we know half of tomorrow night's field. We think we know 1 or 2 other names, and the race for this trophy gets one step further intensified. Yeah,
we've got a sold-out house tomorrow. We're going to have fans just outside this window probably for the first time. I'm really looking forward to what is going to be a fabulous Series 6 finale, but with 2 English players already in the Champions Night, and we've got an Irish guy in there who's going to cause a bit of chaos. I wonder if chaos is going to get there to play against the guy who was the agent of chaos. So many narratives coming into what is possible, but now we want to know what those narratives could be a little bit more accurately.
We most certainly do. As Paul says, Reece Colley is involved in our first game of the evening session. He takes on the X Factor, Andy Bolton, who could also do with a big night tonight if he's to progress his way into the big finale here in Portsmouth tomorrow evening. Well, Reece won his first 2, lost his last 2 yesterday, and I caught up with him early on this evening to get his reflections on the night as a whole. Reece, day 2 for yourself at the Super Series. How would you assess night 1?
Yeah, steady enough. Some positives, few missed doubles, but overall it was steady, yeah, on to tonight.
Felt like a night of 2 halves. What were you thinking after 2 matches? Because things went so well for yourself.
Yeah, I think I just got a bit drained, maybe, you know. Obviously it's a bit late, but I bought me a Red Bull tonight. I'm livening myself up a bit, and yeah, we'll see how tonight brings. What kind of opportunity does Champions Week present for yourself? It's everything. Like, the prize fund obviously is massive. Obviously, I'm sure you'll be invited a lot more on the next series and stuff like that. But yeah, and to lift the trophy as well with the calibre of players that have lifted it, like the likes of Luke Littler and stuff like that, and what he's doing at the moment it's massive. Are we seeing the next stages of your development? So you get obviously you've seen you win the British Open, England International, Lakeside debut in December, now Super Series Champions League. Are we seeing Reece Colley move slowly and gradually in the right direction? I hope so. Like they always say, there's only one way, and that's up. But obviously you have a few setbacks and stuff like that. But now it seems to be going the right way. It seems to be going upwards. So happy days. If you were to be successful this week, would this be the pinnacle of your career so far? Yeah, definitely. 100%. This should be at the top, 100%. Obviously winning the week was massive, but if you win the Champions Week, it's huge. Yeah, it'd be massive. We wish you all the very best, Reece. Good luck. Thank you, Emery. Cheers.
So we know 3 of the 6 are going to be progressing their way through to Champions Night tomorrow evening here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. Our quest over the next 3 hours is to find out the final 3. We kickstart with Andy Bolton and Reece Colley. Both players could do with a victory in their opening matches to put themselves in a good stead going forward for the rest of the night. Well, Paul Nicholson's made his way over to the commentary box to describe all the action in the company of Laura Turner. Evening, Laura.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Henry, and good evening, everyone else. Well, here we are, the final session before Champions Night. We will see who will be joining the likes of Tom Sykes, Cam Crabtree and John O'Shea in tomorrow's finals. And I don't know what you think, Paul, but to me, I think the bookies have kind of got it spot on. I can't see past Scott Taylor. He's approached everything in the same way. He was one of the first ones here. But I like what you said. I think Andy Bolton would have left yesterday scratching his head because for me, he put in some of his best performances. He averaged the second highest of the whole evening, but just only picked up that one result. And that one result came in the last game, and that was against this man here again, Reece Colley.
Yeah, what he would love to do right here is just to replicate that and to stop one of the people he's trying to chase
140.
Get to that range, which is starting to become unachievable for Andy. Now, we did a lot of this afternoon where we looked at O'Shea and Crabtree and
100.
Ryan Harrington. We looked at what was possible. As far as this is concerned for Andy, if he loses this game, he's got 3 players in the table on 6, and he's still on 2 with 3 games to go. That's a fairly drastic situation in the most truncated night of qualifying of the lot. So
60.
he knows it's got to be good. Otherwise, it will be 1 session short of Champions Night for the 2nd time in his Super Series career.
131.
Well, Bolton's best average came in his opening match from last night. Had a 97.29, and for a player that we kind of think consistently averages around the 90 mark, he really stepped it up. But again, left scratching his head. He actually lost that 4-3 to Darren Webster, who marked up only at a 91. But it was the checkout percentage for me. It was those kind of statistics. Bolton created the chances, but didn't always take them.
Yeah, 24% of the night tells you a very vivid story.
125.
I know I've said this phrase a lot this week, but based on the way Andy's been rolling this week, this goes. Even this way. Bullseye.
Game shot in the first leg.
Well, there you
Reece
go.
Colley.
Chaos is back. And Andy's thinking, oh my, not again.
Second leg is Reece to throw first.
You called it.
Game
Like you say, it's just been a frequent theme for Andy Bolton, not just in this session, but throughout the week. What I did find with Bolton that he was perhaps missing from his Group A to last night. He was taking out those ton plus checkouts. He was nailing that 32 off the back of a 104 especially. And that was what was missing.
180.
Hasn't been a great deal of that this week. And if I may be 1% critical for someone who has played 19 games this week, this is his 20th. He's not averaging 180 per game. You probably just need to jack that up a little bit tonight, Andy. However, I will say, per game, he was better last night than at any point in the week. 6 for the night.
140.
Weirdly, Reece Colley got the least last night. That really took me by surprise when I was looking at the numbers. He only got 2.
100.
This has got a brilliant recipe attached, this game. It's just whether it all comes together and it tastes good. This tastes very good.
117. And Eric 124.
.54 bull. He could do with this.
99.
How many shots at bull are we going to get tonight? We've already had 2 important ones in the first 2 legs of this first match of the evening.
Game shot on the
And
second
it's 2-0 Colley.
Reece Colley.
At which point do we have to talk about the leg difference? I'd probably have to say around game 4. Once
Well,
everybody's
it's
played
Andy to
one
throw
game,
first. Game on.
however, Collie will play 2 of the first 3. He's going to be the man who finishes his campaign first, and he's the one who has to set the lead. For the
81.
likes of Bolton, who will finish up against Darren Webster. There is a risk that if things don't go his way in the first half tonight, Laura, that game could be
60.
a dead rubber.
Yeah, I agree. And Reece Colley did kick off very well last night. Won his opening 2 matches, tailed off towards the end. Interesting to see that he's brought a can of Red Bull
60.
just to keep those energy levels up.
We've seen that from other players today. Crabtree had some form of, as we say in Australia, it's a
125.
lolly or a sweet. Maybe just to have a little bit of a hit. And when you're playing long format darts, potentially when you're playing in a world final, maybe best of 13 sets or
96.
a world match play match where it's best of 31 legs, you are going to have to supplement through a game with something that will give you a jolt.
121.
Something that a lot of the new superstars are starting to learn from, the likes of Barneveld and Taylor and Wade, who's been around for 20 years.
59.
It's not just water you need. You do need to supplement through these long nights. So don't be surprised to see something like that used.
133.
Yeah, I agree. We quite often talk about how players manage their time from tournament to tournament, but actually probably don't focus as much as we should do how they manage their time during each individual tournament.
Do you know what woke me up to that very subject? I used to watch a lot of Australian rules football when I was living in Melbourne. It's a religion over there.
105.
And they used to have
requires
cameras
62.
in the team room at half time. And the Western Bulldogs guys were handing out jelly snakes.
22.
And they were chomping on a couple of those at half
And he
time. And I
require
asked
100.
my ex-father-in-law, what are they doing eating those? And they said, oh, sugar. Half time gives them a bit of a kick before they go back on the oval. I thought, I'll remember that. And Collie has a chance for 3-0. And he's only had one
44.
dart at a double. And that was at the bull in the second leg. The distance has been created in this game. And if he goes on to win this first match, there will be 4 points between the top 3 and the bottom 2. There have not been many times in a Group B situation that I've seen something this drastic, especially in a Week 13 scenario.
No, I agree. I can't recall, as you say, a group where there is an opportunity to create so much distance for the top 3.
Andy's record on Saturday night when he's played here is exceptional. He's only won 1 weekly title.
26.
Oh, and actually he's got 2. I do beg your pardon, but his record in making the final game, it's remarkable. But you've still got to make the Saturday night to have another crack at it.
It was interesting to hear Cam Crabtree talking after he topped the table earlier today, and he was saying the same thing. He finds the group stages there the slog. He enjoys the Saturday. He enjoys just the nature of how kind of cutthroat it is. It's all or nothing on the night.
You might enjoy the last mile of a marathon, but you still got to do 25 miles before it.
$58.
He will have a chance for 4-0. It's a big ask. And he wants the 140.
140.
He gets it. That was a lovely gliding dart over the top of the first shot. Now that shot's off, and he's got to build a comeback
59.
1 leg at a time. You can't win leg 7 here, but you can win leg 4.
Game shot.
Job 1, complete.
Andy Bolton.
Job 2, get the next one. Start asking other questions of Reece.
Yeah, that's an important break, and now Andy needs to hold.
Game on.
Are you a fan of this shirt from Reece Colley?
I am, actually. We were talking about it. It's very him. His Aston Villa colours.
I believe a dart shirt must have a
44.
bit of you in it. I don't necessarily mean the new Ricky Evans shirt, which is him in a big Union Jack. Make of that what you will.
47.
But if I didn't know that this was Reece Colley's shirt, I'd say, well, that would be good on Reece. And that is good design work, albeit
60.
slightly chaotic. I mean, Salvador Dali would have been proud of that one.
Yeah, well, it was implied, wasn't it, on
44.
X last night that we were enjoying the colours of his shirt last night, but he's got a few more in the locker.
I've thought of a really, really good slogan
60.
for Colley as well. I'm trying to figure out if I'm able to say it on a broadcast.
If you're not sure, maybe, you know.
Oh, I'm going to be bold tonight.
Oh, I like it.
It could be, don't be RC, be Reece Colley.
Yeah, I think that's all right.
See what I did there?
I do.
Yeah. They never take my advice anymore.
46.
Well, ever since he went 3-0 up, things have started to slow down. And we haven't so far this week seen a seismic comeback.
180.
Believe me, if he gets out of this with a win, Bolton has just done something seismic.
60.
I've gone early with that.
And he requires 61.
88.
Game shot on the
Brilliant.
fifth leg. Andy
Now he
Bolton.
has to break, if he can, in leg 6 and take advantage of this little lull from Reece.
Sixth leg, it's
He
Reece
could
first.
break
Game
this
on.
little streak of losing tight matches in Group B.
Yeah, and as we said, he really does
58.
need to, if he's got any chance of cracking that top 3.
There's a chasm between them in the averages. 11 points before this throw. Just goes to show that the
44.
quality is there from Bolton, but Colley's made all these inroads in the first 3 legs. It's just a question of whether he gets a chance to finish it off.
You know,
60.
Andy Bolton's campaign, especially here in Group B, is the epitome of the idea that it's all about timing. The misses he's had have just been very ill mistimed, and someone's been there to sweep up.
140.
You look at Andy and you think, yes, it's all about timing. He's not even wearing a watch. Not every dart player does.
46.
He'd probably lose it doing his wiggle. Probably fall off his wrist.
Well, if this one goes in, we might see another wiggle.
140. $58.
This really has not gone to plan for Reece. At 3-0 up, we were thinking, this is really bad news for Andy, but I think at this stage, he's got to be favoured to win this
99.
match, even though he's still behind.
Yeah, as you say, a break here would see Andy Bolton throwing for the match. And we've seen,
97.
even early on
And it
today,
requires
how important
78.
that can be if you've got the darts at 3-all.
Single 20 for tops.
58.
He will return and probably will have to take those 20 points. His job is to stop Colley from getting a match shot.
140.
Well done, Reece. You've done your job there.
And it required 20.
And these at times have been those key moments where Andy hasn't been able to convert. And that's a wild one. Just taking his time, 7-7. It's probably not what he was hoping for at this stage of the match.
Not at all. He wanted that to be fuss-free. This has got to be aggressive.
30.
He had to go for that. He couldn't feather it. He couldn't just
required
hope
42.
that it landed. He had to give it a go. And Colley gets his chance.
26.
They weren't close. He
And he
understands
requires
that they were
7.
not good shots. But if you think 7 points is easy, think again. The smaller this number gets, the harder it becomes. 1-1. Oh, it bent the
5.
wire. It's all born from missing 10s and hitting the 6. He knows that.
Risha requires 16.
It's the equivalent in this position of hitting an 11. But he doesn't. He hits the heart of double 8. Unfortunately, Andy's comeback is halted by a bad shot at double 10 that forced him into an unwanted corner. And now we've got 3 people on 6 points in the table. And the bottom 2, the 2 most experienced players in Group B. Bolton has 2, Webster has 2, and Colley is now, well, very, very close to qualifying with 3 matches to go, unless things go horribly wrong over the next few matches. Darren Webster is back, looking to get his own back on Scott Taylor, but last night he was the best player by some distance statistically.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where before the break we saw Reece Colley get his night off to a perfect start, staving off a late comeback from Andy Bolton to run out a winner and to move on to 6 points in this Group B campaign. Well, we're going to see the league leader overnight, Scott Taylor, in action. He also won 3 from 4 matches on his opening night's play and looks in a very good suit to progress his way through to tomorrow night's final. Now, he takes on Darren Webster, who has been subject to some newspaper headlines overnight following his game against Ron Meulenkamp, which has captured attention away from the Super Series. There was an alleged incident prior and during the game between the pair that took place last night, which has been reported via various media outlets and via social media as well. We have given both players this evening the opportunity to account their version of events and to put their stories to the forefront. Now, we caught up with Darren Webster earlier on this evening. We're going to hear from Ron Meulenkamp later on in the broadcast. We'll begin by hearing Darren's account on what happened last night. There was an incident in one of your games last night against Ron Meulenkamp. It's made newspaper headlines. There's been social media stories about it. From your perspective, what perceived to have happened?
We'll put it this way, he just done a few things that I didn't like, and that was it, really, at the end of the day, you know. I've always had that thing where, you know, you just go up there, you throw your darts, best man win of the night. And when people do certain things, they do it. But at the end of the day, if they do that, then I will not shake the hand. Never have done, never will. But I mean, at the end of the day, that was yesterday. Today's another day, you know. I mean, you know, I got up there and the stage was stunk out, and I think he kicked me at one point, and he was standing there throwing a dart, moving left, moving right. I'm standing there going, "Oh, just throw your darts. You're too good not to do that. Why are you doing this?" But you know, at the end, I didn't like it, and yeah, you know. But today's another day. Yesterday's history. Today's another day. You know, I hold no grudges, no nothing. You know, never have done. And we're dart players, if we're on the spur of the moment. You know, you put so much effort into it, don't you? Do you know what I mean? You pay money to come away. You practice for weeks on weeks.
So that is Darren Webster's account on the events that happened last night. We'll hear from Ron Moonekamp slightly later on in the programme. Webster's first assignment this evening is Scott Taylor. He's the league leader. He has been one of the standout performers this week. Himself and Tom Sykes really have lit up Champions Week here in Series 6 at the MODUS Super Series. And to a certain extent, Scott Taylor's probably enjoying all this because he can, despite being top of the league table, fly underneath the radar going into one of the biggest nights here at the MODUS Super Series. 2 wins for the 32-year-old from Bolton tonight, and he is into Champions Night for a second time. The former semi-finalist is within touching distance of the red ribbon occasion again. Let's get into this one then. Your commentators are Laura Turner and Paul Nicholson.
Game number 2 of Friday night. Let's get into this one. And Scott Taylor would like to get closer to Champions Night in this one, that's for sure.
Darren to throw first.
He is still top of the table with 4 games to go. He has been caught by Rhys Colley, who is now on 6 points and +4.
59.
But Taylor's superior leg difference of 1 more leg keeps him in the Premier position ahead of what could be his acceleration
180.
to Saturday. The ultimate 180 hitter over the last couple of weeks. Looked
81.
merciless with those 3 darts at the start, Laura.
Yeah, just the expression on his face. He means business. He's going to want to seal this
100.
as quickly as possible. You've got to recall he has been here now, not just all this week, but last week as well when he picked up that title in Series 12. It has been a long haul for him, but what's impressed me the most, he has remained amazingly consistent at such a high standard throughout the whole period.
123.
Darren's following him here at the start of this game.
83.
Almost following him exactly.
198.
Just falls shy of putting himself into 2 dart range as well. There's no missing these guys with these shirts tonight. Treble 18 for double 12.
78.
Best to be safe
Darren
than
Record,
sorry.
138.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah, he went for the old double 19 double
98.
top trick.
Scott, you're required
I can
20.
get behind that. But he is
Games
behind.
on the first leg.
That's an
Scott
opening
Taylor.
13 darter from Scott Taylor, who planted his first maximum of the night in his
Second against
first
Scott
3
to throw
darts.
first. Game on.
I've already had 3 180s here tonight, giving us 196 for the week. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to 200 in this match.
121.
Yeah, Scott Taylor's definitely demonstrated the ability to hit that red bit. He ran out a 4-0 winner over Webster yesterday.
58.
Had the highest average of the night, 101.9, and averaging well above that at the moment.
He's made a habit of doing that over the last couple of weeks. However, he
81.
has been trumped by the likes of Tom Sykes earlier in the week, who stuck in 109 plus. Last week,
57.
Dave Evans did him in the highest average stakes, and so did Ross Montgomery, who had 108 plus with a loss against Dave Evans. But yes, Scott Taylor did have the best average yesterday in this group against Darren.
93.
Didn't let him have a dart at double, and hit 4 out of 7 himself.
59.
And after what I said with Henry at the top of the show, I stand by it. I still think at times Scott struggled with something yesterday, and he still averaged over 96 for the night.
60.
What I'm seeing here is much more of what we've seen from Taylor in terms of his body language, his facial expressions. I think you can read a lot off of the way that he attacks the board, and we didn't see so much of it yesterday. But as you say, even despite that, had the highest running average of the evening at 96.11.
I sincerely hope he's got 3 points that are
96.
fully functional tonight as well, because we believe that yesterday he damaged one of them right at the end of a match.
135.
In fairness, though, it
It's got
didn't
your
do him
required
any
50.
harm.
No, it didn't. Double top.
40.
Darren Webster
Darren
is
required
in
52.
position this time to get his first leg against Taylor this week.
42.
Narrowly missed.
It's got
His
your
first
required
starts at double
10.
against the man from Should hit this. And
Game
does
on
for
the second
2-0.
leg. Scott
If
Taylor.
he gets a large win against Webster again, he's going to get to 8 points. That is
Delegates
usually
down to throw
safe
first.
in a
Game on.
Group B scenario. But we're just going to press pause on gifting him an invitation to Saturday on 8 points because
23.
there are still possibilities. But Laura, at this stage, with this group dynamic, I'm starting to think with Bolton only having 3 matches left,
42.
and if Webster loses this game and having 3 matches left, it's not looking good, is it?
No, it's not at all.
100.
Either of those players would need an escape route worthy of Harry Houdini if they're going to make the top if Webster loses as well.
Yeah, somebody got Steve McQueen's number.
57.
I'd like to see it. If either Bolton or Webster could get out of the bottom 2 into the top 3 by the end of the night, I'd
85.
love to see it. That would be a nightmare scenario for Reese, for Ron, or for Scott. But there's not a fibre of my being that believes that Scott Taylor is going to be denied tonight. I just can't see it.
No, I completely agree.
100.
So it went right down to the wire as to who went through in Group A. It was very, very narrow. But it was Tom Sykes. But again,
100.
it's just the levels that Scott Taylor's maintaining. And if we thought he was struggling yesterday and he's approaching the
60.
Oki like this in his first
You
match,
require
I think the rest of the field may find
122.
themselves in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think they might be. 418s and Bull. Or he's going to go the 25-57 tops.
62. Darren Iroquois, 133.
No 60 there means Taylor will get a look at 3-0.
93.
And that was a precarious
Scott Iroquois,
situation
60.
for Reece Colley. When he went 3-0 up, he slowed down. That flight is saying hello to him. He wants to get past it.
Game shot
Open
in the
sesame.
third leg. Scott Taylor.
That was a seriously impressive dart. If in doubt, throw it
Four-legged
hard.
Scott to throw first.
That's the
Game
mantra
on.
of Scott Taylor.
Yeah, and it's working to very good effect.
Darren yesterday averaged under 78 for the night, but very much
180.
hindered by his last performance where he didn't average well at all. Only 26% on the doubles, but there were 3 players
60.
yesterday that were under 30% on doubles. That was Colley, Bolton and Webster.
59.
Yeah, and those stats are very much reflected in the way that the table actually finished overnight.
100.
Very much so.
$43.
We might not have enough legs in this contest to get to 200 180s for the week. Because we're currently sitting on 198, so we need 2 more. Scott Taylor's only maybe got 1 more chance to get one. That was aggressive. He really thought that he was going to leave 79 there. A lot of defensive players would have gone to the 19s with the last dart.
You did wonder, but
140. He's got your record.
He's obviously feeling good.
119.
and this is a match-winning opportunity for Scott Taylor.
That'll do. As will that. As will
Game
that.
shot and the
That's
match.
one way to get 119.
Scott Taylor.
3 bits of lipstick And that's one of those performances where you've got a perfect sandwich shot. 60 bull treble 3. You won't see that very often, but that was a bit of a trick up his sleeve. Doesn't seem too happy with the 4-0 win. You should be very happy, Scott, because you're on 8 points. Your leg difference has gone to +9, and you're 1 win away from getting to Saturday to have a crack at £20,000. He could even break the heart of Andy Bolton because that's who he plays next. However, next on our menu is Collie versus the Bomb.
Very warm welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. Welcome to the second part of Championship Friday, where Scott Taylor is 1 win away from returning to Champions Night tomorrow evening. The former semi-finalist at Champions Night is hoping to go to better and lift this magnificent trophy. He's got the better of Dan Webster by 4-0, Asian the better by a 119 checkout in the process. Right, the last player we're yet to see so far this evening is Ron Moulenkamp. He's in action against Rhys Colley, who's already got a win to his name this evening. Now, Ron was involved in that game against Darren Webster yesterday evening in the middle portion of our schedule of action. And overnight, there has been newspaper reports circulating about that particular fixture and accusations labelled against Ron. Now, we spoke to Darren earlier on this evening. We asked both players for their right of reply, and this is Ron's account of proceedings last night. I have to ask you about a game you played yesterday against Darren Webster. There's been newspaper articles, there's been social media stories about an incident that happened in that particular match. From your perspective, what's happened and what do you think's happened to enable those stories or the stories that have been released?
Yeah, I think it's a big clown show of Darren Webster. He obviously was 3-0 up, he lost 4-3, moaning about everything. That's how we know him for all these years. But the thing was, there was a little smell on stage, but because we were halfway through the group, you guys had a lot more to talk about, so we had extra minutes. So the first 30 seconds, minute, there was a little smell, but we came on stage and it was already there. So we didn't know what happened, but I chose to be focused on the dartboard, and he was choosing about chatting and talking about it, and I didn't give him a response. So he was talking to himself and to Charlie. He went like, if it's not me, it's not you, then it's probably him. And then I was like, no, don't do this, because I know how he can be. He's a dangerous player, and I have to be focused. I have to be on my best to beat him. So I chose to no response at all, just play darts. Then obviously I was 3-0 down, I win 4-3. That was already like more than 20 minutes past the smell he smelled. And obviously I smelled it, but it was so little and it was nothing. But he made it a big deal, and then he pops on social media blaming me for everything. I think that is it's unrespectful. I think that's not professional, and I don't have respect for him at all anymore. What I do have is respect for the MODUS Super Series, for everyone involved, because they helped me through today to say, well, don't worry about it, focus on your game, which obviously I will do.
Strong words from both men this evening. You can watch that interview in full on the MODUS Super Series YouTube channel to get both gentlemen's accounts on the proceedings that took place in their fixture last night. But in terms of the action on the hockey, Ron Meulenkamp, well, he won 3 out of his 4 matches last night, and because of Rhys Colley's win earlier on this evening, the pair are now both tied on points. 10 is the magical number to progress your way through to Champions Night, and with Scott Taylor already on 8 points, things are getting a lot tighter in that race for qualification. Meulenkamp against Colley is game 3 with Paul Nicholson and Lord Turner.
Yeah, welcome back. Things are getting very, very clear in this table, and Ron has been in the practice room for the first couple of games, watching on and seeing Rhys get to 6 points, which is where Ron starts his night. Then after that, Taylor has embellished his position with another 4-0 victory against Darren Webster.
First leg, it's Rhys to throw first. Game on.
People's passage to Saturday night could be nailed before the halfway point tonight. And may I just say,
41.
I think Ron Meulenkamp was extremely eloquent there, based on a situation that wasn't particularly pleasant. But we're talking about someone who works in the Dutch media, and for him to be that eloquent in a second language
140.
tells you just how professional he is. And we've all been in situations that we didn't want to be in, Laura.
35.
And to front the camera and to do that just goes to show that he does have a lot of respect for the MODUS Super Series.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we were both impressed with the
100.
reaction there from Ron. But in the context of this game, I think
99.
the best result perhaps for the chasing pack would be a win for Ron Meulenkamp, because obviously Rhys has joined them on 6 points, but I think that is the only way that I can perhaps see those remaining 2 players at the bottom of the pack actually just have that remaining little bit of hope.
Yeah, I agree.
95.
Bolton and Webster need some serious help now. And I'm not just talking about points. It's leg difference as well. We've had 2 of these this week. We're not going to get a third, not just yet anywhere.
98. Reach require 131.
There goes that attempt. So Ron's going to have a look at 72.
83. Ron
It all
requires
depends
72.
with this shot what you want to leave as your primary double. 12s and tops for that
James
particular
on the
route.
first leg.
And the 12s is
Ron
fine.
Meulenkamp.
Uber focused coming into this one, starting with a 14 darter, and the eyebrow
Second leg,
is
it's Ron
back.
to throw first.
We did
Game
enjoy
on.
the bit of eyebrow action yesterday. But again, I think it kind of relates back to the interview that we just saw. It's just that level of professionalism and the way he's approaching every single game. He's taking nothing for granted. A lot of the wins that Ron Meulenkamp had yesterday, he had to come through really tough
76.
4-3 battles. He became a last leg merchant, but they did all go his way.
You've just made up a new
85.
phrase in darts. A last leg merchant. That means that he actually wants to go to the last leg. You're a glutton for punishment, aren't you?
In fairness, if I had to take every match to a last
100.
leg, and knew that I was going to win it, I would do that every day of the week.
Yeah, that would be exciting. Might have to change his nickname from the Bomb to the Serial Thriller.
140.
Like it.
Well, you said you like a bit of Prodigy. That's a Prodigy song. A Serial Thriller.
$56.
Rhys Colley was reeled in his first game by Andy Bolton. And it was leg 6 that
100.
came his way. He had an opportunity that maybe he shouldn't have had. But he was opportunistic when Andy couldn't take that game to leg 7. And that could be
83.
the fatal blow for Bolton, because when you consider who he's got next, he's got Scott Taylor, who is just looking so comfortable.
140.
This is a good response from Rhys Colley. Yeah, Aston Villa have been a bit up and down over the last few weeks. Lost a couple of games at home.
100.
Lost to Chelsea in the FA Cup by a distance. That will have shocked the faithful Villa Park.
18.
And that's a missed open
Ronnie
goal,
Maguire,
really.
86.
That makes things a bit harder. 42 for tops. Splendid recovery.
46. Risha require 18.
Yep, so a break straight back.
Game
And that
shot
was a
the
good
second
adjustment
leg.
there to get the double
Rhys
9.
Colley.
We haven't had a series winner who's been left-handed yet.
Villa gets Reese to throw first. Game on.
And we've not had a Dutch champion. We've had English, Australian, English,
99.
Scottish.
Well, Ron Moulenkamp could tick 2 of those boxes. The only left-hander in the field and the only Dutch player.
We did, however, get a Dutch player in the Series 5 final.
60.
Marino Michaels made it all the way to the championship game. But Chucky was too much for Marino.
100.
Can the Bomb go one further? Because he's not that far away from booking his ticket to the Saturday night. And many a Dutch player has been here to the Super
48.
Series over the course of the last year. Moreno and loads of ADC Europe qualifiers.
46.
And I'm sure we'll get a lot of them this year as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And what I've loved about the Super Series is a lot of hidden gems out there, not just here in the UK and Ireland, but over in Europe as well and
80.
beyond.
Yeah, let it continue. I want to see players from Iceland. I want to see more players from other countries in Europe.
82.
There are some players in Southern Europe and Eastern Europe that we haven't had here yet, who I believe would cause major headaches
100.
for regulars who come here. I'm talking about people that you'll know of, Laura, in the WDF system. I watch that system an
96.
awful lot and think to myself, if that person was here, what could they do? I've seen a bit of Patrick Kovac from Hungary over the last couple of years on the European tour.
71.
Laszlo Kadar of
Require
Romania.
78.
I'm talking about that area of the world, and also further afield.
58.
Ron's going to need 2 trebles to get to a double here.
42.
After a very strong start, things could be turning around for Chaos. I haven't had a great deal of Spaniards here either. I wonder what's happening to Mr. Alcinas. Mr. Reyes.
Yeah, I was going to say Krista Reyes. There's definitely a few out
53.
there.
Ratio required 20.
I wouldn't mind a bit of Spanish week.
Game shot on the
And Reece
third
doesn't
leg.
mind a bit of that. Not the
Reece
best leg
Colley.
we'll see tonight, but he doesn't care. He just wants to chalk up legs, points, and rubber stamp his
Against Ron
invitation
throw
to
first.
tomorrow.
Game on.
Yeah, you could go further afield. Well, I say further afield, ever so slightly into Gibraltar.
Yeah, we could even have a couple of the Gibraltarian World Cup players.
60.
Yeah,
Like Justin Hewitt.
Dyson parody.
41.
Now that would be interesting.
Could definitely be entertaining.
Oh, yeah. Portuguese players. Maybe we can find a few other French players.
85.
Now that the top two are on the tour, the possibilities are there.
100.
Yeah, actually, to be fair, we're quite friendly with a guy called Roscoe, Francesco Roschini, Italian player.
He's good.
He's very good, and he frequents the UK very often.
100.
He's been to our workingmen's club that you've been to a few times.
Get him over then. I've got a lot to ask him.
180.
This may be asking a lot of Ron Meulenkamp all of a sudden. If Colley goes to 8 and Meulenkamp stays on 6,
55.
and Bolton beats Taylor next, then we've got a group.
82.
However, whoever goes to 8 points here, and if Taylor beats Bolton after that, then Bolton is
35,
very,
which
very
required
close to
98.
bye-bye. We have another bogey on our hands.
66.
Yeah, we've been rather critical of those, and rightly so.
I think Ron is critical of himself
Which
for
required
leaving that
32.
166.
You can see that.
He'll be very honest with himself that when you do that, you don't like yourself for a few seconds.
Game shot.
Especially when your opponent takes out that
Reece
for a
Colley.
3-1 lead. If somebody put a script for tonight through the letterbox of Reece Colley, it would have read something like this.
Yeah, it's been another solid start to the session from Colley.
59.
And I like the fact that he identified in that interview earlier that he did just maybe run out of a bit of steam towards the tail end, and he's addressed that. And that's what this is all about. It's about having the experience, learning from it. And when you're in the group stages, you do have to learn rather
123.
quickly.
Now, the West Midlands is screaming out for a new darting superstar. Wayne Jones has carried that torch for many,
140.
many years. Maybe the man from Dudley is the one to take the mantle with the likes of Matthew Dennett, who I'm a huge fan of. I'm going to miss him here the next 2 years. I love running into Matty.
83.
Yeah, he's joining another West Midlands star, I guess, in Jamie Hughes.
Yeah, all right. I love Jamie.
92.
Yeah, I remember going away on a tournament overseas, over in Turkey. First time my kids met him, and for weeks they kept referring to him to Jamie Hughes as a literal
99.
translation of his name, and ever since then, I can't get over it. He's Jamie Hughes.
Okay, that's going to be communicated to
70.
the PDC. So when he walks out to the UK Open, that's going to be his name. Sorry, Jamie, it's happening. Ron knows a thing or two about playing at UK Opens. He's played at many.
60.
But this game has not
Which
gone to
required
plan ever since he won the
140.
first leg.
He came out very strong, Meulenkamp, but Colley's mounted a charge. He's cut him down quite early.
68. On the record, 136.
72 we've seen from Ron in the first leg. And we're not going to get a 136. That was an interesting route. I can actually get behind that
69.
because he
Which
went for
requires
2 treble
72.
17s and double 17. This has just got a little harder, but this has got a familiar ring to it. Double 11.
50.
Yeah, different route,
Ronnie
different
requires
outcome.
67.
Match start come and gone, and this has to go for Meulenkamp.
Got to be 15 bull. He just seems to have lost his line the last few legs. And in moments like that, aggressive darts like that have got to be applauded.
Game shot on the
Keeps
fifth
the match
leg.
alive. I
Ron
really thought,
Meulenkamp.
because he struggled with his line over the last couple of legs, that second dart was going to be a big single
Sixth leg is
15,
Ron
just to be
throw
safe.
first. Game on.
But he remained resolute, gets the treble and the double, and this game is pretty much on throw now. Well, no, pretty much about it. It is on throw. There you can see the struggles with the line. Look at this definitive draw up of the dart from almost his left knee
26.
up through the line. That's never been a problem for Ron, but it's the delivery of the arm through on the same line.
140.
Look at that, drawing it up, balancing, calibrating, and then coming through. If that release point is not right, the arm gets
61.
a little bit jagged.
Yeah, and he's visibly not happy with the way things are going. Did well to make it 3-2, but struggling to make it 3 apiece.
Tell you what, Laura, we just don't know how important it would be throughout the course of the night that he did get that leg.
No, indeed we don't. Only time will tell. But that was a better visit.
34.
It's got to be quite difficult if you're a player with a rather technical throw that's quite hard to replicate
57.
over and over again. You can see here when it does go wrong, it can go very wrong.
Yeah, it's very mechanical. All part of that rebuild that he had a few years ago.
100.
Sometimes I think he's really keen to play faster, but he's tempering himself with patience
58.
and the rhythm that seems to suit him at this point in time.
You have to say, to me, one of the nations that is synonymous with fast throwing are the Dutch players. It's a real big part of many a player's game.
100.
How good was that last dart?
46.
My word, how did he get that through? If he does take us the distance,
86. On the required
Collie will
80.
be tested on his throw. Another single needed. Right, okay. He's thinking left or right. He's just going to see which looks best. He thinks he can see it through the flights. No, we're going to go to the right-hand side. I think this is the right play. High, hard, and don't leave this short.
40.
That was such a difficult shot.
Reach required 60.
Yeah, very tough. And now another match chance for Collie.
Tops. 10s will do. And Rhys Colley has gotten away with it again. 4-2 against Bolton. And this time with the darts, he wins 4-2 again. Those games will feel like carbon copies. But he doesn't care because he's now on 8 points with a leg difference of +6. He goes to second position and Ron Meulenkamp goes to the bubble position of third. However, with a 4-point buffer. We move away from that now and we go to Bolton and Taylor. And with only 3 games to go, Andy Bolton must win this next game. Otherwise, the exit door is screaming his name.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. Welcome back to Championship Friday, where that man on your screen there, Scott Taylor, is a solitary victory away from progressing his way through to Champions Night tomorrow. He's made it through to the semi-finals of the big night in this competition in the past. And hey, how about that? A little bit of a helping hand, helping Andy stick on his sponsor's patch in the back. I was wondering whether there was going to be a little bit of a late night massage here at the live lounge in Porter, because the X Factor's certainly limbering up for action. Must-win game for him in this one against Scott. Before the break, no Collie Walls for Reece Collie. 4-2 win against Von Meulenkamp. Taylor through with a win.
Let's
head
Scott
over
to
to
throw
Paul Aguilar.
first. Game on.
The equation is getting rather simple for Darren Webster and Andy Bolton in this table.
140.
Reece Collie and Scott Taylor seem to be in a position of real strength. Whereas Meulenkamp, who now has a negative
40.
leg difference and 6 points, he can be caught. If Bolton wins his remaining games here tonight, so 3 from 3,
85.
same for Webster, and Meulenkamp loses everything from here. There are other possibilities, but that's the simple way of explaining it at this stage.
57.
We do know that Bolton must win this game, otherwise we'll be talking about him in the bottom 2 by the end of the night.
Yeah, I agree. It's not quite done yet.
96.
And although Meulenkamp won't have to kind of hit the panic stations quite yet, there were signs of just a bit of struggle, a bit of inconsistency in the game, and perhaps a few lapses of concentration, leaving that bogey number halfway through the match.
43.
Taylor started strongly, and myself and Laura are not surprised by that.
132.
There you go. A somewhat forgotten treble, treble 12, which can be very useful in a couple of different scenarios in 501. This is not good news for Bolton.
84.
The fact that Scott Taylor is
48.
maybe eyeing up an opportunity to get rid of him early before Saturday.
Game shot on the first leg.
He's planting
Scott
darts
Taylor.
like that. Like it's just another day at the office.
It probably feels like just another day at the office. I spoke to him earlier. It's kind of
Second
become
leg,
part of the
it's Andy
furniture
to
here
throw
over the last
first.
couple of weeks. But
Game on.
again, very impressed. He has this routine. He's one of the first ones here through the door, and he maintains that. That is how he wants to prepare, how he wants to play. Would have been quite easy, I'm sure, coming into this
100.
group in such a strong position to have perhaps had a little extra hour R&R. But no, he is focused on the task in hand.
80.
What I will say is that if he didn't like the practice facilities so much and playing here so much, I'm not sure he would turn up that early. Sometimes you have to go to places where
97.
you're not necessarily in love with it. I've held my hands up over the last 10 years saying, I can't stand the Winter Gardens. I just didn't like it.
81.
Didn't like the practice facilities. I didn't like playing on that stage at that time of year. But I still got there early, even though I didn't like it. However, based on the mannerisms and the success of Scott Taylor over the last week,
100.
I think he's going to be sad to leave here on Sunday.
Yeah, I'd imagine it'd be sad to leave here on Sunday if
58.
he hasn't got that winning trophy and check in his back pocket.
However, if he does win £25,000 over the course of 2 weeks,
100.
his hourly rate wasn't bad.
No, not at all. Yeah, it makes it all worth it.
140.
Worth the sacrifice, time away
And he
from
got
friends,
104.
family. Sometimes the lack of sleep. Oh, look, Andy's on 104.
Game shot
How
on
many
the
is that?
second
4
leg.
this week?
Yeah,
Andy Bolton.
104, number 4. Told you we started to nickname that
Delegate
the
Scott
Andy
to throw
Bolton
first.
early on in
Game
Group 8. Haven't seen it in Group B, but there it is.
Well, he's going to have to get an extra stripe on the back of his trousers to signify his 4th 104.
95.
I just noticed, if John O'Shea, the Joker who was in Saturday night, and well done to John And Cam Crabtree, by the way.
140.
He goes up against Scott Taylor tomorrow. You could classify him as the Harvey Two-Face of the week. Look at his shirt. Got the bright side and the dark side.
125.
It has felt a little superhero themed at times, hasn't it, this week? I don't think there's any Joker reference left that you haven't unearthed.
I'll find one.
If
he wins the title, we're going to have to find some. That is 180 number 200 for the week. Well done to everybody who's contributed to that total.
97.
Andy's leg difference is -3. Only 2 adrift of Ron.
60.
Any inroads he can make in this game, or any margin he can widen, he would take with both hands. Webster is further back. He's on -11, so he's got
41.
way more to do.
And he record 121.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Andy Bolton's next game after this would be against Ron Meulenkamp, although Meulenkamp does have an additional game in between.
57.
Against Webster.
Scott, you require 143.
Haven't really spoken much about them tonight, have we? Andy's got a chance of the lead.
47.
And a break of throw.
And he requires 64.
Scott has not lost to many people over the last couple of weeks. That right shoulder might be starting to get a bit tight.
$54.
He's doing
Scott,
anything and
you're
everything
96.
just to stay loose. Finding himself in a few very unorthodox positions. Double. Down there. And there's
Game
trouble
shot
down
in
there
the
for
third
Bolton.
leg. Scott
Is
Taylor.
there anything that Scott Taylor has not tried and succeeded at over the last fortnight? That really
It's
is
Andy to throw first.
something that Scott
Game
Taylor
on.
has just added to his arsenal at this stage of his career. He's just got more lethal.
Yeah, I think the only thing he's missing just to cap it all off to tick all
100.
boxes is probably a 9 darter over the last couple of weeks. And he's gone, 7 darts into one?
And 6 perfect darts on multiple occasions last night, back-to-back legs.
96.
He's the only Taylor that's won a game tonight. Phil didn't win at the World Seniors. He lost to Manfred Bildel.
100.
Our friend Manny from Germany. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him at the Super Series this year. Good player, Manny.
180.
People looked at me funny, you know, earlier in the week. I said, Bildel's going to beat him. He said, you got to be having a laugh. I said, watch. You'll beat him. And he did.
100.
Every now and again, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Every now and again. And even when we think we do,
134.
something always
And he
happens.
require 161.
This would be useful. Bullseye.
Game
Wow.
shot on the 4th leg.
What a shot from
Andy Bolton.
That's his second 161 of this group.
Like you say,
Look
he
at
is
Scott
doing
to throw first.
everything in his power
Game on.
just to remain in this fixture, in the race.
Don't accuse Andy of not enjoying darts anymore, 'cause he enjoyed that. That brought a little smile to his face.
95.
If you didn't enjoy darts anymore, you wouldn't smile at that shot. You'd think it was just a leg in the bank. He enjoyed that. And so did we.
I was going to say, I enjoyed that very much.
93.
Have you got a favourite 161 that you've ever seen?
Yeah, nothing specifically springs to mind. Probably the ones that
134.
I've hit over the years to actually win legs. I think they've always been rather special. There haven't been a huge amount, but
Brendan's 161 for the 9?
yeah, that was, well, history-making moment.
125.
I have a favourite. It was Peter Wright versus Michael van Gerwen, Sindelfingen, Germany, in a final that Peter Wright beat van Gerwen 6-0.
90.
Wright looked bulletproof, and he nailed a 161 in that final when Michael was on a double, and Michael looked like someone had just stolen his car. It was a bone-shaking
100.
161.
any big three-figure outshot. If you can kind of shake the foundations of your opponent, they're the ones that they just mean that little bit more.
Andy will not say this out loud,
Scott, you require 78.
but he will secretly think, please don't hit this, Scott, please.
Game shot on the 5th
Well,
leg.
very
Scott
rarely we
Taylor.
get what we want in regards to asking your opponent of something, but Scott Taylor at the minute is just playing too well.
6th leg, it's
He's
Andy
averaging
to
over
throw
101 in
first.
this game.
Game on.
And if you thought at any point this week he was suffering from hitting the wall, it has never looked that way at all.
No, not at all.
60.
And there's been a moment in this match where Andy Bolton once again just missed a couple of darts at the double for the leg. Scott Taylor just stepped in with that double checkout for 96, and that's what's been happening to Andy Bolton throughout this campaign.
It seems to me like he's running into people at the wrong times. You look at what he's done in this game, 95 average,
123.
climbing towards 96.5 with that shot. He's got a maximum, he's got 10 ton plus throws, 3 140s, a 161 checkout, 50% on the doubles.
81.
It looks as if on paper he's playing well enough to make Saturday. However, on the other side of the page, people are saying that's not good enough.
58.
It was very similar to his opening match in Group B, where he lost 4-3 to Darren Webster. Exactly the same kind of stats. He was 3 from 8 on doubles, 161 checkout, 97.29 average, and still lost 4-3.
This is one of those moments where Scott on a bogey number is not going to bother us, because he couldn't leave a finish from his previous position. But this is going to feel awfully familiar for Andy. 95 average yesterday when he lost to Taylor 4-2, and it might just be replicated.
135.
He's left himself very well positioned. Andy's exit from this Champions Week is edging ever closer. And I'm sure the sellout crowd here in Portsmouth tomorrow night, we're all expecting to see X Factor.
24.
It's not looking likely. And Scott Taylor's invitation was almost rubber stamped there.
And he require 106.
Can he save his bacon?
Needs a treble. Finds it. Opts for double 13. And that is absolutely outstanding there from Andy Bolton. Under all that pressure, and actually a circumstance where someone gifted him an opportunity and he decided to take it.
Game on.
Every now and again when you play someone that you really like, because these two really get on, it's not as if you're saying to yourself, do you know what? I want him to hit this. You'll never say that. But if he does, you just think, that's very good. And that was out of the top drawer of reaching into your pocket and going as deep as your socks. He might not have that title that he craves, that he wants to have around his neck, that huge win that signifies who he is as a dart player. He might not get it this week.
140.
But I refuse to let the darting public think that Andy Bolton is not a phenomenal dart player. You don't do things like that if you're not.
97.
He's shown some real grit and determination. I think one of the key factors in this specific leg is Taylor's got the darts. And Taylor's continuing to play at top levels.
The amount of pressure that's been on Andy in this whole match. It's like he's been shopping and both shopping bags have got anvils in them. He's got to somehow make it home.
59.
And those shopping bags have got pictures of Scott Taylor on them with a big smile. Another one? Not another one. Well, that would have been something out of another universe had he done that.
Scott, you require 124.
Is he about to have his heart snapped in two, or will he get another look? Heartless Scott Taylor does it again.
Shot and the match. Scott Taylor.
But he's through to Saturday night. That's going to be good enough. And Andy Bolton looks like he's not going to make it. It's not mathematical at this point, but Scott Taylor just keeps putting the pressure on every single person he plays. And that is another outstanding display. That 1-2-4 at the end just denied Andy a shot at 64 to maybe squeak a little bit closer to Ron Meulenkamp. That's a great result for him. All of the headlines overnight were Meulenkamp and Webster for the wrong reasons, and they've got to play each other next.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. Welcome back to Championship Friday, where Scott Taylor has booked his place into Champions Night. He needed 2 wins to make himself through on 10 points. 10 points he has got. A destructive display before the break. Right, this is the game that everybody's been talking about, hasn't it, overnight? Darren Webster up against Ron Meulenkamp. This fixture yesterday got all the headlines, both nationally and via social media, for the wrong reasons. And as far as tonight's gone, well, both have had a bit of a stinker to start. Both players losing their opening match. And if Ron can win this game, well, it may almost smell tomorrow night's final. Let's get into this one with Paul and Laura.
First leg, it's Ron to throw first. Game on.
Let's get on with it then. And the most important thing here is if Ron Meulenkamp can channel everything into this win that he so desperately
59.
craves. What we have on our hands is very, very simple at the halfway stage. 3 people through, 2 people out with 5 games to go. It's that simple. Ron Meulenkamp did not win his first game tonight. He did have a few struggles along the way.
60.
When he lost to Rhys Colley by 4 legs to 2. But it hasn't hurt him.
100.
Because if he beats Darren, or if he beats Andy Bolton in Game 7, he's going to be safe anyway. He's done all of the hard work already.
95.
Yeah, I think as you say, this is very close to being sewn up, and to me, slightly reminiscent of what we saw in Group A, where it was dominated by 2 players, and we knew that top spot was pretty much sewn up after just a couple of days' play. Obviously, we don't have quite as long here in Group B, which just stretches over the 2 days, but again, been rather dominated by Scott Taylor, Reece Collier, and Ron Meulenkamp.
You've played darts for a long time, Laura, as have I. And every now and again, you're going to play against someone who you've had words with. Sometimes it's difficult to play in a game like this, especially so little removed from said incident, because you may want to win too much for maybe the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I can recall quite a few instances, and I think it's something that I had to develop as I went along, because I wasn't one to challenge people. But 5-5 here for Ron Meulenkamp.
On the first leg.
Yeah, that's much better, because I saw a few things maybe creeping into his game in the opening match for him. But yeah, going back to what you said, it's difficult, and I think there are ways of doing it if you do have an issue.
140.
But for me, it puts me off more by saying something, so I'd rather just focus on the match in hand.
And that's the great thing about when it is game on. You're detached from the world. In a sense,
60.
The only thing that you can really see from the players and hear from the players is in-game. It's all about what they throw, not about what they say.
180.
First 180 of the night for Darren. He got 4 yesterday, but they all came very early.
57.
One thing that we didn't say about Darren at the start of play is that he started pretty well, but he tailed off after every single game. He got worse as every game went on. He'll probably think that he's left himself too much to do here tonight.
134.
But while it's still mathematical that you can get through, keep plugging away. Double top.
41.
Ron is in the distance at the halfway point of the leg, so Darren will return. We're talking about 2 very, very experienced players here. He's on greenhorns by any means.
40. Game shot on the second leg.
And it won't have been their first disagreement with a player, that's for sure. We all have them. I think I could maybe
Delegates Ron to throw first.
guess that 2 or 3 players that haven't really had any sort of disagreement with a player. One of them's Dave Chisnell. You think of any?
59.
No, I do think it's part of the game. I think it's part of the passion that you show for the game as well. And when things don't go your way, sometimes players look for excuses.
60.
And sometimes players are genuinely distracted by something that's going on.
If I were either Darren or Ron in this game, I'd approach it the same way. Approach it like boxers do, where sometimes the weigh-in, the lead-up, during the sparring and the training, when you do interviews, it can get quite personal.
140.
Get in the ring, sort it out. When the final bell goes, it's all done now. Let's get on with it. They might never have to share an hockey again after this game.
Very true.
Ever. There are no guarantees of them ever being drawn against each other in an event in the future.
41.
So leave it all out there. And if I were Meulenkamp, in his position, I'd feel like the boss, because I have the power to put Darren out. Darren, however, has the power to annoy Ron just a little bit more. There are so many different ways of looking at it.
Yeah, there are. And Webster's proving a little bit hard to shake in this match. As you said, it's one of those games. It's one of those fixtures that's just got so many different narratives.
95.
That was a really good second dart from Ron.
100. Ron requires 61.
Look treble 7 is an option here. But he's one of those lefties that seems to be a bit more flexible on the outer ring. He doesn't always leave tops and 10s and 12s. He's more of a flexible 18s, 8s, 16s, that kind of thing. But he is behind now.
Darren Webster.
As Webster finds his second double from 3 attempts in this match.
Fourth leg, it's Darren.
That's more demolition man than
game on.
Demoralised man.
Yeah, indeed. It's seems to have had a fuse lit under Darren Webster.
123.
It's been a difficult week for some of these players. Look at Gary Stone over the last couple of afternoons. A vastly talented player, but
59.
After winning his first game, he just wasn't in the fight. Chaz Barstow was left in the dust. And the people to take advantage were John O'Shea and Cam Crabtree. Tom Sykes, he'll be like a kid at Christmas tonight.
140.
He'll just be waiting for tomorrow, thinking, this is going to be mine. And there may be, at this stage, a very
100.
heavy likelihood that it could be Tom Sykes and Scott Taylor in the final. That's the one that people are tipping. But sometimes the tips fall short.
123.
Yeah, quite often we have tried to predict things and it doesn't always go
41.
based on what
Ronnie
we've seen.
Maguire, 140.
But I would agree, based on just the performance levels that we've seen from players this week, they've been the two outstanding players playing at that high standard, but consistently.
Well, Ron's got to be careful not to hit that flight.
100.
It's a lovely dart. Don't underestimate just how difficult that dart is.
Yeah, it's one of those scenarios, isn't it, where you tell yourself, don't hit the treble, throw it high, and you just pull it straight into the treble.
Maguire, 40.
Great shot, great leg. Break throw for Ron. And the closer this game is, the better it is for him. Because Darren's leg difference started at -11. Ron's was 10 better. And as the clock ticks on here in Group B, when you're running out of legs and running out of matches, that gap, even though it hasn't changed in this game so far, the likelihood of bringing it closer starts to dissipate. I think that's an angry bomb right there.
I think you're right. There's definitely a steely focus on that game. And look at the grimace.
Well, there's a very famous song that was associated with the Matrix trilogy.
59.
It's a really interesting title. It's called Calm Like a Bomb. I used to listen to that track when I was training in my early to mid-20s. It's one of those tracks that really fires you up when you need that extra rep or two when you're lifting weights
27.
or going an extra round in the boxing ring. And right now, Ron is as calm as a bomb.
100.
Ready to pop.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He really wants this win for personal reasons. But like we talked about earlier, you just got to have it for the right reasons. You've got to temper that desire.
100.
Yeah, it's about channeling those thoughts, those emotions, those feelings. You can use them if you can put them to good use.
78.
It generates a feeling that you can't manufacture.
Yep.
It's very natural.
That adrenaline can be very handy. Double 16 for John Cougar Muhlenkamp. If you're a fan of music, you'll get that reference.
Ron Muhlenkamp.
He's within one of putting Webster on the shelf.
Game on.
And in fact, putting Andy Bolton out as well in the process. It could be a double knockout.
Yeah, but Ron's played much better in this match than he did in that opener against Reece Colley. We saw him struggling to get that line, but I think he's come out here with a lot more focus. As you say, he's got that adrenaline pumping through. As you say, the face tells you everything.
You know what Jackie Chan said to Jaden Smith in one of the newest karate movies? Ooh, look at that. He said, your focus needs more focus.
80.
I'm not sure Ron's focus needs more focus at the minute. He looks like he's a man in a tunnel looking in one direction.
Yeah,
60.
He's caught the bomb and he's looking like he wants to cause an explosion because this is an explosive performance.
Can anybody hear any ticking?
58.
Because the clock is ticking on Darren and Andy's participation in Champions Week.
140.
Imagine having the opportunity not only to get yourself through, but to put the others through as well.
100.
Now, Scott Taylor's already safe. But a double knockout is quite rare
58.
in this format.
Yeah, he could be rather popular with the likes of Reece Colley if that is the outcome in this match.
Means we're going to have to talk about something else in the last half of the show, Laura.
40, Darren, require 100.
We'll think of something. Can he find 80 more? Muhlenkamp has a chance to get the job done
38.
at the halfway point of the night. One match start has come and gone, but he has another.
30. Darren, require 40.
Double top.
Game shot.
We go the distance.
Darren Webster.
Can you do it now, or will you have to wait till later?
One to throw first. Game on.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling rather tense.
Yeah, it's quite icy up there. But it was always going to be that way.
Oh, of course, of course.
45.
Starting to get shades of that game I had with Hybrax at the World Cup. That was rather icy. It wasn't off the stage. We were fine with each other.
96.
But during the game, it was a bit snarly. I look back on that now and I cringe. Oh, this is brilliant.
140.
There's that follow through that he's been trying to minimize for years. If he can, I thoroughly believe another stint on tour is inevitable for Ron, because he's just a really good player.
Yeah, I agree, but even then, still managed the 140, but as you say, quite easily could have been the 180 if he can just maintain that line.
140.
That was better. Webster's got to try and get to 170 somehow.
190.
Just shy. $25 would have left him on 170. That was really good thinking from Darren. But he couldn't execute the plan, and Muhlenkamp has got guaranteed match starts coming in. He's already missed a couple, but he gets a shot at a different department.
22. Running required 36.
Just think about the pressure he's under right now in his own mind, and he's left 36 after 12. And he has won the match. And he books a spot into Saturday night as well. Darren Webster is eliminated. And I think they just got to draw a line under this now, haven't they? They will leave the stage, and as soon as they get back to the practice room, the news will be broken that we do have our Champions Week field for Saturday night, and it will include Ron Muhlenkamp. Darren Webster loses by 4 legs to 3 and will take Andy Bolton to the exit door with him at the end of Friday night.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. Welcome back to Championship Friday, where everything is signed, sealed and delivered. I even forgot the yellow tie to announce it all. Well, joining us in the studio to assess all the action is the asset, Paul Nicholson, who has been watching all of the action in the commentary box. Well, we thought we were going to have some late night drama here at the live lounge this evening, but we now know the 6 names of the players that could be playing for that.
Yeah, we do. We've got 5 games to go on Friday night, and we're going to look forward to Saturday, but position will dictate which group those 3 players will go into on the championship night. So it's been a fascinating evening because Rhys Colley has won twice, but he has been troubled twice. And if you're winning games when you're not playing your A stuff, that's an encouraging sign. But Scott Taylor is just bulletproof at this point. He will want to win Group B again and to try and put things right as he goes through to his 2nd Champions Night. He's the only person who is going to be here tomorrow night who has been there before.
It's a very illustrious list of names to have done that twice as well. It's not an easy feat whatsoever. Right, these are the results from this evening's matches. So Rhys Colley opened up for 4-2 win against Andy Bolton, and as Paul said, he had to struggle through the next one against Ron Meulenkamp 4-2, but that win before the break for Ron Meulenkamp against Dan Webster sent out Andy Bolton. It sent out Dan Webster. We now know the players that are through. Let's go through the players then in chronological order. We'll begin with Scott Taylor, because I feel like because of everything else that's happened, he's been able to dominate a group, but yet not be spoken about. And I feel like Scott's the type of player that wouldn't mind going under the radar like that.
No, I think if there's another narrative that's dictating the news in the group, he's more than happy to do what he wants to do. Some people just want to play darts. They don't want to get involved in social media furores. They want to come here and they want to cash big. It's as simple as that. Imagine what it's like in the poker world. Some people want the headlines. You look at Phil Hellmuth, he wants to cause a few ructions, he wants to create positivity these days. But there are people who just want to sit there with their sunglasses on with their hoodie up and just play with the chips that they've got. That's what Scott's like. He's got a lot of chips to work with, and he's a heavy hitter, and he's going to go all in tomorrow night. But so far this evening, he's been just doing what he's been doing for the last 2 weeks.
My calculations, he's become the 3rd player to make it through to 2 Champions Nights. The other 2 ain't half bad. Luke Littler and Dale Pilgrim.
Yeah, not bad, eh? Pilgrim's still not a tour card holder, and I still don't know how, because he's a phenomenal talent. And Darrell's not here this week, though. I think he's going to be back this particular season, and he would love to get his hands on that, but it won't be in the next 24 hours.
So, Scott Taylor through to Champions Night, as is Rhys Colley. Now, what have you made of his week so far here?
I like his temperament. I've watched a lot of Rhys over the last 18 months. Very good player. I think he's making good strides in his career. And what I like about his patience at the minute is he doesn't expect everything to happen immediately. With a lot of young players these days coming out of the JDC, what we're hearing is that they want big numbers, they want to have big successes, but he's learning his trade. He's learning in a very, very hard apprenticeship in the WDF system as an international, winning a big event like the British Open. But coming here, what he's learning to do is different ways to win this format of match, being best of 7, which is something that can be transcribed into other things that he does in the future. He's nowhere near the player that he wants to be, but he is getting there.
Are we seeing him mature a lot more, especially over the last 6 months or so, where sometimes maybe we labelled a couple of question marks at Rhys's door, but we don't tend to do that now?
No, I don't think we do. I think what he's starting to do is learn from good influences around him. He doesn't seem to get petulant. Not that he was petulant before, but he would maybe show a bit of exasperation. Now it's more of, okay, I'm at ease with whatever happens, and I want to learn from my mistakes, and he's starting to reap the rewards of that.
Ron Meulenkamp, the other player to have made his way through, he was so impressive in the week he was runner-up into Chris Lamb, and he's taken that form into this week. And is there a potential that he could be a real dark horse for this title come tomorrow night?
A lot of people will probably think so based on reputation and what he's done previously. But if you look at the way he's played this week, has he played anywhere near his potential? Absolutely not. what he's done over the last couple of days is he's found enough opportunities and he's made the most of them. 2 scruffy matches with Darren Webster. He's won them both by 4-3. By no way were they classy affairs with huge averages and huge finishes, that kind of thing. It was just eking his way through those ones, but getting the points against other people, and he's just able to accumulate in the ways that other people have not been able to do. As for him being a dark horse, if he switches on Saturday night, he can do it. But it's very much in there with Ron. He knows that.
Right, let's have a look then at the table to confirm the 3 players that are through. Scott Taylor, Rhys Colley, Ron Moolenkamp are all into Champions Night. They'll join Tom Sykes, Cam Crabtree and John O'Shea to pick up the £20,000 and the coveted title of MODUS Super Series champion. And they'll join an illustrious list of names that have picked up that trophy. Conan Whitehead, Raymond Smith, Luke Littler, Jim McEwen, the winners of this competition in the past. And next week we're going to be starting up a brand new competition here at the MODUS Super Series. We're going to be doubling in and doubling out here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. We've got 12 legends of the game, plus some up-and-coming players as well taking part in this competition. It's littered with big names and littered with stars of the World Seniors Championship, which is taking place at the Circus Tavern this weekend, and potentially anybody in that Group A were seeing themselves as a potential world champion in that division. We know Jim McEwen exited at the hands to Kevin Painter last night. Robert Thornton, the 2-time defending champion in that competition. We've got ex-champions here in Jim McEwen and Conan Whitehead in action as well as the exciting Connor Scott with Lisa Ashton, Colin Osborne and Darryl Pilgrim in Group C. And it's an intriguing format. There's a lot of interest around this.
Yeah, there should be, because double start darts really is one of the best formats of the game. I think Thornton will come in as one of the favourites because of what he's done in the World Grand Prix previously. But then again, it's years removed from when he did that. Is he still playing at the same level? No. Is he playing at a level of darts in that format to maybe win next week? Absolutely. But someone might come here on an incredible high. Someone like Painter, someone like Thornton, who could be bringing a trophy of his own here, because he's not going to go home to Scotland before coming to Portsmouth on Monday morning, so he might be forced to bring the trophy with him. And it could even be Chris Mason bringing the trophy, and he's going to be commentating next week.
And just very quickly, for players like Connor Scott, for Lisa Ashton and Darryl Pilgrim, who haven't played the World Grand Prix before, as a player who's played in that competition a number of times, what would be your biggest bit of advice to them?
Well, you don't have to play in the World Grand Prix to get double start experience. It depends on what you've done locally in the past. And it was easy for someone like me growing up in Northumberland and Tyne and Wear, where double start was everywhere. It was very ubiquitous. However, my biggest advice is always the same going into the World Grand Prix for people who have never been there before. Have a plan A, have a plan B. If you don't stick to the plan, you're going to really struggle when you're playing a lot of double start matches. Look at Rob Cross in the World Grand Prix. His record is atrocious. He knows that. He's going to have to try and figure it out if he wants to get that title before the end of his career. But he hasn't quite figured out his game plan of starting yet. The intricacies of it are evident, and Chris Mason will definitely have the experience to walk everybody through it next week.
Coverage begins Monday morning, 9:30 a.m. and it's going to be exclusively live on the MODUS Super Series YouTube channel. But from now on in, our full focus is on who is going to lift the MODUS Super Series trophy. Reminder, Champions Night is tomorrow evening, 7:30 on the YouTube channel, 10 o'clock on Sporty Stuff TV. And the 2 players involved in our next game will be involved in that particular occasion, as Rhys Colley takes on Scott Taylor with Paul Nicholson and Laura Turner.
Yeah, thank you very much, Henry. Yeah, well, as we know, these 2 players, they find themselves well and truly in Champions Night. And you can see the smiles there on Scott Taylor's face. And I will say, as the pair were warming up, they were all smiles, all laughs. It's been a rather jolly affair down on the practice session before the match is about to start. And I think we could potentially see these 2 perhaps in a bit of a more relaxed state, knowing that their job is now done, and potentially could see the best of these 2 players, which sounds
Rhys to throw first.
Absolutely
Game on.
Unbelievable when you think how Scott has played. But honestly, it was it was quite a joy to watch how happy and relaxed those two looked when they were down there, knowing that they are now through.
Well, the job's done, isn't it?
95.
The job at the start of the week was to make it a Saturday, and they've both made it. It's not a great deal of players have made it to a Champions Night. And an even smaller list have made it twice, like Henry mentioned.
41.
Only one person has won this twice. But it's going to be a new name on the trophy.
96.
Someone's going to carve out their own little slice of history at the start of a leap year.
Oh,
64.
Put me on the spot a few times.
Here we go.
Over the course of this week. So I'm going to return the favour. Out of the 6 that are now confirmed through to Champions Night, who's your top pick?
Taylor. Against Sykes in the final. Last leg decider.
34.
I don't think there's many people that would disagree with you.
Do you know what? I can have my opinions, and I can watch Rhys Colley go for tops on 82.
Require 167.
But with all due respect to the other finalists, that's probably the game that most people want to see.
Yep, but don't forget,
93.
tomorrow we've got a full house here at the MODUS Super Series. Yeah, and that was a loose one there.
16.
How funny was that single one? If he tried to hit that again, he couldn't.
Couldn't have found a smaller section.
Outrageous accuracy from Rhys Colley. And he's lost the leg.
On the first leg. Scott
well,
Taylor.
we've gone from the strange to the brilliant to the weird to the sublime.
Can I get Scott to throw first? Game on.
Yeah, with probably an added sprinkle of tension throughout that last match. But yeah, this is a night that has given us quite a lot already, including
60.
the lineup for tomorrow. But yeah, do you think sometimes, because I know Rhys, when he's played here before, and I've been here when he's played on a finals night
100.
week, do you think the crowd can now bring a different element to the way that these guys play?
Well, let's be clear here. Because Taylor has been here on a night that Little has been here. That has had an effect because maybe with the exception of the first series final that saw
40.
Graham Usher beaten by Cohen and Whitehead, that night was very, very special.
140.
But the nights that we had Littler here, that added something else. And Scott Taylor lost in the semi-final in Series 3 to Luke.
140.
He knows what to expect tomorrow night. The other 5, whereas they may have played in front of a crowd before, tomorrow is very, very different. I've been here for Champions Nights previously, and there's a totally different buzz.
135. It's got your record. 103.
It's going to be chaos. This guy's going to be here as well. Double top.
Game shot on the second
Fancy.
leg. Scott Taylor.
2-0. Strutting around the stage. Some people might think he owns the joint. In about 24 hours, he might. See, that'd be a good prize, wouldn't it?
140.
Win the tournament, you win the building.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he stays there any longer, he might actually end up with squatters' rights.
40.
Yeah, Scott, if you stay any longer, we're going to give you a form for the local council tax.
135.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's walking into the local shops and they know him on a first-name basis now. He's been here that long.
27.
Yeah, just keep your phone close, Scott, just in case anybody pulls out of Double Trouble Week.
Yeah.
He'd probably be the first person that we'd call.
Well, as you're here...
54.
Yeah, you mentioned some of those players playing next week. Another one that I think actually probably will have had a bit of experience at the format is probably someone like Lisa Ashton, who didn't have any double trouble so far in the World Seniors, beating Huntley.
Absolutely.
140.
Many congratulations to Manfred Bildel tonight, who's beaten Phil Taylor. Chris Mason won against Daryl Fitton. We all love Daryl.
140.
Chris is our colleague and our friend. We're thrilled for him. That was a great performance after losing the first set. And he's going to play Bildel next. He's not going to play Taylor. He's probably quite disappointed.
Yeah, quite.
Game shot on the third leg.
And his colleague's not disappointed with that. And he shouldn't be. That was a 14-dart leg.
And I thought it was quite interesting hearing Chris
Well,
talk afterwards about the match.
Game on.
As someone who obviously analyses other people, he was quite a harsh critic to himself. I understand why, but very interesting to kind of hear the analyst do the self-analysation.
Yeah, a little bit of self-deprecation there from Chris, but
125.
I think on some level he's always been like that. He's always tried to get the best out of himself, and even when he does something really well, he's always trying to find a route to do it a little better. And Collie will know a little bit about Chris Mason because he did live in the West Midlands for a while. He's currently residing in the East Midlands. If in doubt, just whack that 60 again and chuck it hard. Scott Taylor is the embodiment of John Daly on a dartboard.
45.
Grip it and rip it.
122.
Take it from me. I've seen Scott throw at a dartboard. It really does make one heck of a noise when he hits it.
Yeah, it's a bit of that
58.
thwack.
So required 40.
Do you remember those? Well, say remember, you get the microphone boards.
Game shot on the fourth leg.
I remember playing
Scott Taylor
at Hemsby many, many years ago, but it was quite empty and it's quite a big building. But for some reason, that microphone must have been turned up to max power because I remember throwing my first dart and literally I ducked, my opponent ducked, and half the building did. It was that loud.
60.
It was like a Ron Moulenkamp-esque bomb going off.
He's at it again. Oh, he can't go for the max because he closed the 60 in the bottom left corner. But he says something about max power. That's an alter ego of Homer Simpson.
That was also my maiden name and a name that you could never call your child with a surname like Power.
You could.
96.
Oh, you couldn't.
Oh, this is good.
140.
Stand by my statement about Reese. I really do think that he's learning at a very, very nice rate in his young career. Highly rated by a lot of people. If he does a lot of things right over the next few years and makes good choices, I think very good times are ahead of him. I think he's going to be a big player here this year. This has got to be a big shot. Another 14-darter to keep this game alive. And Taylor was pouncing there, just hoping for a shot. Very even game, both averaging around 93.
I don't think there's many people that would actually disagree with that statement. Reese Colley.
96.
One of the biggest events on the kind of WDF calendar, formerly BDO calendar, was the British Open. And already, as you say, in his young career, has won that title.
180.
We are inching closer to the midnight hour.
58.
We've already wished a happy birthday to Eddie Lovely, who is part of the England team.
100.
Coming up for the internationals this year. I'm thinking about that British Open win.
55.
The names in that Roll of Honour. If you ever get the opportunity, and you've got to spare 10 minutes,
100.
just think about what Reese has added his name to. I think it was one of my first big events that I ever attended in 2001.
43.
I remember walking around the room thinking, am I in heaven? So Barneveld and Van der Voort and Manley and Adams, Mardle. Everywhere you turned. This is amazing.
89. Reach required.
That year it was won by John Walton. Ooh, that's a bit awkward.
30.
It was. It bounced it away.
Scott, you require 160.
Scott often takes this approach, just takes his time in his approach to the oche, and often comes off very well.
81. Reach required. 10.
Double 5 to take us the distance.
Game shot on the 6th.
Right in the heart.
Reese Colley.
If we may talk about the British Open a little longer. Well, we're going to because I've got the microphone.
7th and final against Reese to throw first. Game on.
It's been played in Liverpool. It's been played in London, Bridlington.
140.
A few different venues over the years, but predominantly at the Royal Spa. Been won by the likes of Luke Littler, the last
98.
champion. That was a nice parting gift to the WDF, wasn't it? I'll just win one of your biggest events. Richard Veenstra, Ross Montgomery, who we saw 7 days ago.
100.
Quite a lot of Scottish champions. Like Montgomery, Cameron Menzies. John Henderson beat Gary Anderson in 2008.
100.
In a rematch of the previous year. Really interesting that Gary beat John the previous year.
85.
Wolfie's won it, of course. Go a little bit further back. Mention John Walton, Mervyn King, Raymond van Barneveld. Maybe some lesser known names who have won it over the years, like Brian Sorensen of Denmark. Give a shout out to Phil Gilman, who won it in 92, but Dennis Priestley in the final. When Dennis was world champion. Now, is Reese Colley going to inflict a defeat on Scott Taylor?
40.
He's played superbly in this game.
Game
and he's won it.
The match.
What a great match
Reese
that
Colley.
was. And now we've got a bit of a battle on our hands to see who's going to win this group, because Colley has gone to 10 points. And with that win, he has reduced Taylor's leg difference to +9 and swollen his to +7. So we might have a little sprint on our hands from Colley. He's going to play against Darren Webster in Game 8. But before we get there, it's going to be Bolton against Muhlenkamp for game number 7.
chaos, glorious chaos here at the MODUS Super Series, where before the break, Grease Collie got the better of Scott Taylor by 4 legs to 3. Them two are going to be a Champions Night tomorrow, as is Ron Moulenkamp. He takes on Andy Bolton, for whom a second Champions League campaign has yielded a dry return. As for Ron Moulenkamp, a first appearance on the biggest occasion that the MODUS Super Series provides, and an opportunity in one of the biggest nights in amateur darts. Let's get into this one with Paul
First leg,
Nicholson
it's
and Laura
Ron to
Turner.
throw first. Game on.
Here we go with two of the most experienced players you're going to see here at the Super Series this year. One of them is going to be coming back tomorrow. The other will be leaving us.
60.
Andy Bolton will be very disappointed that his route through the week will stop at Group B this time, as opposed to Group C from his previous effort a couple of series ago. But I'm positive that he will be back later in the year to try and go one better to get to that first Champions Night.
30.
Now, I'm going to hazard a guess here, and this is nothing against the two people that Andy Bolton has got left to play. But the way Andy Bolton's luck has gone so far,
140.
in both Group A and in Group B, I reckon he wins these next two and wins emphatically.
Yeah, I think you might be right, you know. And that would be costly for Moulenkamp, because if he wants to win the group, he need to win this game, and then he'd be level with Taylor and Collie with a game to go
85.
for everybody. Collie will be up against Webster after this. Moulenkamp finishes against Taylor, so he can stop Taylor from winning the group.
137, and he required 96.
And Ron will actually know what he has to do to win the group against Scott, because Collie will be finished by then.
60.
But it's very dependent on what happens in this game as well.
60. And he required 36.
This is where Andy can just relax and play. This is like playing a couple of league games. And you're not playing for anybody else, you're playing for yourself.
Andy Bolton.
And that thing called pride, which is apparently one of those deadly sins.
Second leg, it's Andy.
But we like a bit of pride
Game on.
in darts. It's a big thing.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with having a bit of pride in your performance.
96.
We are inching closer to Champions Day. February 17th is going to be the day that somebody lifts that trophy. And there are a few dart players
100.
who are yet to grace this place, who are going to be celebrating their birthday on Saturday. I'll mention a few of them now. Someone that you'll know very well. One-time friend of mine, John Scott. Happy birthday, Nasha, for tomorrow. Karol Sedlacek. Evil Charlie, the man
83.
in darts who's got his own energy drink. I know that because he gave me one. Scott Waits, two-time Lakeside champion. He's going to celebrate his birthday tomorrow, as well as Manuel Valerio Rodriguez of Gibraltar, former PDC World Cup teammate of Dyson Parody, who got a nice little mention earlier.
81.
Many happy returns to all those. And I imagine John Scott will probably already be up at the Scottish Open, which is taking place this weekend.
141.
John Scott, a regular on the WDF Tour.
Been playing county for Middlesex for many years.
Ronnie required 135.
Always seems to win ranking events in Eastern Europe, doesn't he? Over in the Baltics.
Yeah, he does travel a lot. That's John.
Runs out a few of them tonight.
And he required 52.
My advice to the bomb is get them out the way. You don't want those tomorrow.
Game shot on the
It's
second
in there.
leg.
It's a lovely dart from Andy.
Bolton.
Starting to happen, Laura.
I know, and I think Andy's kind of resigned to the fact now that it was.
Game on.
If you've never had the chance to spend some time with Andy Bolton, if you're watching this, if he's ever at an exhibition or he goes to a tournament that you're local to, go and say hi to him. He's a lovely chap. He is one of the bright sparks of darts. And he's got an amazing sense of humour.
140.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have been keeping everyone well entertained in the practice room. As you say, sometimes a fun practice room, it just adds to the whole experience that you have here at the Super Series.
Yeah, I do wonder just what is in store for Andy this year, because he is over 50. And we've seen John Henderson join the senior ranks in the last year, now that he is the age of the bullseye. He might just go to some of the senior events and tear it up.
78.
And the words of Chris Mason earlier in this series, he said, when the likes of Andy Bolton are coming our way, it's going to be hard. There are so many people gunning for those seniors events now and for these titles. They're almost planning their year around those two promotions.
34.
Yeah, we've said it quite a few times. There's a lot of avenues available for players out there on the circuit at the moment, but none of them are particularly easy.
This is getting easier.
91.
Andy has a chance.
And you require 40.
For 3-0.
That's a good line.
Game shot
well
the third
used.
leg. Andy Bolton.
And all I can see from Andy is just a bit of an ironic smile at the circumstance.
Fourth leg, it's Andy to throw
Kind of
first.
cool that this could be on the cards.
60.
When Andy's out of that practice room, if there was a conversation to happen between Colley, Muhlenkamp and Taylor, they would have to be honest and all say,
41.
we're glad Andy's gone, because on Saturdays he is so dangerous. And that's the ultimate compliment. The fact that he has not made Champions Night is good news for every player, because he can cause problems for Taylor, for Sykes, for O'Shea,
47.
for Crabtree. He can cause problems for anybody. It just so happens that it's not being his week. He'll just have to cause problems for somebody else.
140.
Yeah, as you say, I'm sure he'll be back causing more problems here. But
46. And over 161.
The tank of the bomb seems to be fairly empty at this stage in time. He's going for another 161. That would have been a third in the group.
136.
And that would have got a wiggle.
yeah, we're going to miss the wiggle tomorrow. Although I have noticed that Cam Crabtree has picked it up.
140. And it required
Be
25.
careful what you wish for, Cam. 88 for Andy.
21.
Maybe it's only a matter of time before he crosses the line, but had he done so a little bit quicker in this fourth leg, that average would have been his best of the week. So little, so late.
35. And it required 4.
He's getting there. He's got to jump a little bit further up, just like that one. And there it is. Well, if you think that's the last you're going to see of Andy Bolton, think again, because he's got one more match to come in game number 10. The pressure's off Ron because he is into Saturday night, but Andy Bolton is determined to entertain before he leaves us from Series 6. There you can see the average is 92.5. Had he got rid of that fourth leg a little bit sooner, he would have broken 3 figures for the first time this week. But he has got one more chance to do so when he plays against Norwich's finest when we return for game 10 a little bit later on. But speaking of Darren Webster, he's taking on Rhys Colley next.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. Welcome back to Championship Friday, where Andy Bolton isn't going to be wiggling his way through to Champions Night, but he did give us a bit of a juicy wiggle there, didn't he, to get the honours in that last game against Von Munichen. Also means that we now know the positioning of those top three. We now know the whole field, the fixtures, everything to do with Champions Night now. It is also almost there. 7:30 tomorrow night on the YouTube channel. 10 o'clock we kickstart on Sporty Stuff TV for the semi-finals and final. The final around 11 o'clock. You do not want to miss it. And we're going to be watching Rhys Colley there. We're going to be watching Rhys Colley now against Darren Webster.
Webster's got 2 games to go, in the knowledge that he's not coming back for Saturday.
25.
But it has been a somewhat up and down first tilt at a title here in Portsmouth over the last few weeks. He was here in week 10 and lost out to Tom Sykes in the final. I just wonder what's ahead for Darren, because he's over 50 just like Andy Bolton. I wonder if the seniors is calling his name as well. But we know that Saturday is calling Rhys's name, and it could 59. Be as the Group B winner. If he wins this game, it obviously depends on the margin. But if he gets to 12 points, and Ron Meulenkamp has a bit of a say against Taylor next, it could be this man who wins a group in a Champions Week. And that does carry a little bit of weight, in my opinion.
43.
Yeah, the opportunities here is here for Rhys. His last match of the night. What can he do? He was very good
40.
Against Scott Taylor in that last match. And actually, Rhys Colley is the only player to have beaten Taylor not once but twice in this Group B campaign.
And we're not going to forget about that going into Saturday.
32.
And I'm not sure Scott Taylor's going to forget it either. You know, in this job, we sometimes come up with perceived poetic lines that maybe finish a game or start a game.
140.
If you're going to make one for this match, you'd have to say that Darren's been demolished and Rhys is not in pieces.
I like it. Very good.
103. Darren, you require 80.
Well, I know a shot that's going to get on Rhys's nerves.
Game shot in the first leg. Darren Webster.
And that's it. Oh, he didn't like that, did he?
Rhys to throw first.
He was not impressed.
I'm sure we've got a great deal of friends up in the Merseyside area who are watching here this evening. And in that area of the world, they would say, you are.
100.
Wherever you're tuning in from here tonight, are you going to be tuning in for Champions Night?
95.
You know you want to. Please get in touch with us at this early hour as we have gone into Saturday morning now.
60.
Thank you for your company. If you're saying goodbye to the working week with a libation and some late night darts. Really has been a great week of darts with MODUS Super Series, Champions Week, Seniors, which is going into their weekend, Premier League darts. And then next week you've got double trouble. And more Players' Championship action on Monday and Tuesday and European qualifiers. My word. What a schedule at the minute it is.
Yeah, very, very full on, jam-packed. But for us, all the attention now points towards...
131.
Well, it's not even tomorrow evening. It is going to be this evening.
91.
Very nice from Rhys. Didn't you want to ask me my favourite biscuit earlier?
Yeah.
We never got round to that, did we?
Yeah. We have spoken about some random stuff over the course of the week.
And we do commentate on 104 matches a week.
30.
We do talk about the weird and the wonderful.
58.
And sometimes the straightforward, like this 58.
Game shot on the second.
And it looked fairly straightforward.
Darren Webster.
Looks to me like Darren Webster does not want to leave here tonight without another win in his pocket.
Delegates Darren to throw.
What's your favourite biscuit then?
Well, in our household, we tend to call them Lionels because it's, Lionel rich tea.
60.
Very partial to a rich tea biscuit, which is, I know, one of the plainer of the biscuit family, but one of my favourites. You?
That's got to be some sort of marketing campaign, hasn't it, for that company? If they don't do that, they've missed an open goal. I make
100.
peanut butter and jam cookies.
See, I knew when I asked you this question, it was not going to be straightforward. It's not going to be a bourbon or a digestive
58.
custard cream.
I used to eat those by the packet when I was a kid. But I make those peanut butter and jam cookies, and they're very nice. However,
140.
I got a recipe from Nadia Hussein, not personally, it was from a book, for white chocolate and raspberry cookies, double layered with a filling.
140.
And they are unbelievable. And they are, if someone made those for me, you're on my Christmas card list.
32.
They are. I'll make them one for you sometime.
I reckon you're making one tomorrow afternoon. You do have some time off tomorrow.
70.
The last time somebody said that to me, I had to make brownies in the afternoon.
They'll do. Honestly, I'm not fussy.
57.
See, there was a plan with this question.
I see. I've been done like a kipper. There's another one to go on the Geordie app.
I was going to say, Geordie app's definitely increasing.
92.
So far tonight, I've had Book,
112.
Kibber. Still top of the list is Super Trooper.
Top of the shop. There's another one.
92. Reach for a quiet 81.
Reese has fallen behind here. Can he catch up? I went for the conventional shot.
41. Only required 20.
And maybe the double-double was the show.
Game
And
shot the third
that
there.
is someone playing
Darren
fast
Webster.
forward darts. 3-0 in 6 minutes. And the man who has the measure of Scott Taylor
Game on.
doesn't have the measure of the Demolition Man at this point in time. And his dream of winning the group could be completely
140.
smashed to smithereens.
Yeah, I guess if you're Reese Colley in this situation, kind of could take the biscuit.
100.
We don't call them biscuits up in Northumberland, we call them bickies.
We call them bickies too, but they are just biscuits.
180.
Wasn't there a commercial where they called them biscuits?
60.
I think there was some sort of animated character that was supposed to be from New York called them biscuits. think we may
100.
have gone into the twilight zone of the Super Series.
100.
And Reese Colley is saying, let's focus on this 11 dart try. 12 will do.
75.
That would have been quite poetic. 12 points with that dart for a 12, but it hasn't worked out.
140.
Yeah, Darren Webster
which requires
tapping on the
6.
shoulder here of Reese Colley.
Game shot
Yeah, but that was a well taken double.
Reese Colley.
So, whilst obviously we're on the subject of biscuits, are you a
If Vegas
dunker?
downs
Do you
the
approve?
first, Game on.
You're not going to like me for saying this, but I don't have biscuits with
123.
tea because I drink herbal tea, and dunking a biscuit in herbal tea is just wrong.
Kind of defeats the object.
Yeah, I'd like a nice healthy cup of mint matcha tea with a custard cream.
60.
Have you ever seen that picture of Darren Webster with Boris Kutchma?
55.
It was taken in Kansas City a few years ago when they were at a really big soft tip tournament.
180.
One of the funniest pictures I've ever seen because Boris is about 6'6" and Darren isn't.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it off air as well. It's still one of my favourite
38.
ever clip-ups from the PDC where they put Darren Webster on the
44.
cover with Dave Parletti, but all you saw was Darren Webster from the nose upwards.
As for this series, we had the tallest person ever to play here
56.
against one of the shortest in the world.
94.
Yeah, it was Cord Decker against Mikuru Suzuki. That was a height difference.
54.
Double top
105.
for Darren Webster will seal his deal in this game. And there it is. Darren Webster wins his first game of the night, and it also means that Scott Taylor has won Group B. He finds his way to the top with a game to spare, and he will play against Ron Meulenkamp in game number 9 after what we've just seen there. Rhys Colley's job is done, so he can breathe a sigh of relief knowing that he has done more than enough to get to Saturday night. As for Darren, he's got one more game to go against Andy Bolton, but before we get there, it will be Taylor, newly crowned Group B champion, up against the Bomb.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Rhys Colley has departed us but will be returning at Champions Night. Darren Webster getting the better of him in his final game in the groups. So we're going to have some chaos on Champions Night, and we're also going to see the Bomb, Ron Meulenkamp, playing the big occasion, while Scott Taylor is hoping to go 2 better from his last Champions Night appearance. Semi-finalist back in Series 3. He lost out to Luke Littler on that particular occasion. Can he do what Luke did and pick up the title tomorrow night? He's going to be one of the hot favourites to do so, but Ron Meulenkamp will be hoping he can lift the title. Let's hand to Paul and Laura.
I'd like to say that this is a nice warm-up for Scott coming into Saturday night, but
60.
He knows a thing or two about playing a late-night B game, because he had to finish up against Ross Montgomery at around this time last week. And then when he had to play on Saturday night,
81.
He played very well indeed. He was unruffled in the final against a certain John O'Shea.
100.
They might meet again on Saturday night, because they're both going there. But I think O'Shea's going there in better nick than last week. Taylor's going there in pretty much the same sort of nick as last week, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think John O'Shea just looked, especially today, just looked very much more in control, more focused. got some very good results.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but these look like a change of points for Ron Meulenkamp.
112.
Maybe just a fresh set. And it may have something to do with the fact that he has had darts on the floor tonight, but I attributed that more to
60.
flight collision instead of anything to do with the points. Maybe this is just putting something new in, and he was going to do it anyway.
Yeah, perhaps, and now he knows the job's done. Just an
100.
opportunity maybe to give them a try, see how they work out.
If everybody out there is
83.
curious, we do have
On the
certain bits of
required 90.
equipment in the practice room just in case of things like broken points. There is a repointer in there, but when you have to repoint
50.
something
So you're
in this
at
format, you've got to do it
157.
quickly.
Yeah, and you can kind of run the risk of actually trying to rush the
41.
job and
On the
not
required
doing it
40.
properly.
Double 10 to get this leg done properly.
Game shot
And
the
there it
first
is.
leg. Ron Meulenkamp.
It is the 17th of February now, and thinking about what's happened
Second leg
in
is Ron to
the
throw
history of the
first.
game on this
Game
day, a few things have happened. A lot of Scottish Open winners on this day in darting history. Richie Davies won the Scottish Open in
100.
2002. Lamb chop. I'd love to meet that guy someday.
You never met Richie?
Never met Richie Davies.
I don't have many stories, and it's not the most
140.
interesting, but Richie Davies, when I played youth out in Malaysia back in 2001, Richie was on the same flight, obviously representing Wales, and we all kind of queuing up
100.
for our seats, and Richie was in that very unfortunate position where there weren't quite the right number of seats, so he got upgraded to
96.
business class. So all of us were just sat in our normal seats, and he was just waved us goodbye.
Well, wasn't that a little bit milky, Richie? Was Mark Salmon in that team as well?
83.
Not that I recall, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't.
Well, he won the Scottish Open on this day in 1996.
57.
On the same day that Anne Kirk won the Scottish Open. The former world master and one of the great Scottish ladies of all time.
Yeah, she was also out in Malaysia the year I played.
140.
That was the Kuala Lumpur World Cup, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Gary Anderson was there too. He told me about it.
Yes. Yeah. He
125.
remember sitting with Gary then.
Required 78.
He tightened my stems so hard, tapped them on the table, snapped them, and it took several people quite a while to try and get it back out because it was in there solid.
Ah, there you go.
58.
A little bit of
Scotty
housery,
required
maybe.
83.
We're not going to get a bullseye checkout from Scott. I tell you what, he has hit the wall at one point this week, and I don't blame him for that at all. He's worked harder than anybody the last couple of
43
weeks.
On the required 20.
But you imagine the levels of concentration that it must take to maintain that for
Game
such
job
a
the
long
second
time
leg.
as
Ron
Meulenkamp
Meulenkamp.
stretches his lead to 2-0.
Delegate Scott to throw first. Game on.
There was another thing happened on the 17th
59.
of February as well. Back in 2019, was a big day in the career of Glenn Durrant. It was on
60.
this day 5 years ago. How was it 5 years ago that he won his very first PDC title, beating Dimitri Vandenberg in a Players'
70.
Championship in Wigan? I know that meant a lot to Glenn. He'd obviously go on to win another one of those PC titles and a Premier League.
140.
Think about the players that haven't won a PDC title at that level.
Oh, one we had here this week that you mentioned, Wayne Jones,
45.
hasn't won a Premier PDC event.
Not yet. You never know. He might have that fairy tale to come. Got
58.
a fairy tale at the end of the Super Series Rainbow in Series 6. It's getting closer. And I just sense that maybe the adrenaline from the Scott Taylor body has gone for the day.
40.
He looks knackered.
He does, doesn't he? That is the straightforward, untechnical term that I imagine Scott Taylor is feeling.
Would you put that in the old Geordie app?
83.
Yeah, why not?
Knackered.
If you do it like that, then definitely.
Well, if he loses 4-0 to Ron Meulenkamp, I've never seen anything like that in me natch.
58.
In your natch.
Require 160.
In your natural life.
In my natural born life.
Natural born life. I was close.
You were close.
Don't forget, I am a southern softie.
No, you're just
45.
learning Geordie incrementally. Look at Taylor. I think he's, over the last few days, just looked at the board and said, grrr. Now he's out of grrr.
99.
He's run out of grub, but he's going to hopefully get some back for tomorrow.
Oh, don't worry about that. He'll have plenty come tomorrow. So the old 3 semi-bull trick lead tops.
Scott, you require
A little bit of trickery there. Not quite Cam Crabtree, who nearly got 3 bulls for a 150 earlier.
60. Ronnie require 40.
Double top. Already hit 10s. Doesn't get anything.
Scott, you require 70.
We're going to get Scott's first start at a double here. Double 14. That's a lovely check out.
Third leg. Scott Taylor.
I'm not sure what that's about. Dartboard hasn't done anything to you, Scott. Don't do a Lloydie.
Ron to throw first. Game on.
Maybe he's just annoyed at how he's played in this game because he's not played well.
Perhaps. He said, don't do a Lloydie, and then he went to grab a glass of water, and we've seen Colin Lloyd do that as well.
Yep.
100.
He's got a litany of things that he's done that have been somewhat frowned upon.
I mean, I've watched that video back several times of
100.
the incident with Lloyd.
Which one?
Well, the one with the hit on the dartboard, and I wouldn't want to be that dartboard.
No, the dartboard suffered, and nobody wanted to be Bruce
60.
Spendley either, the referee, who got the fright of his life. And the stage shook.
134.
Colin's made of real solid stuff. But he's had some great incidents in his career as Colin. There was one time he took his shirt off and wafted it around his body, and then there was the time he got the jug of water, chucked the water into the crowd. Good job the handle didn't come off the jug.
True.
140. Ronnie require 161.
We've had 2 161s from Andy Bolton in this group. We almost got a third. We might still
60.
get a third from him because
So
he's
you
still got
reckon
one more match to go against
127.
Webster. That comes after this. And
79.
48 left.
Ronnie require 101.
Yeah, speaking of Colin Lloyd, he's one of those people, very generous, quite often turns up with baked goods when we go to all these different events. So no pressure tomorrow, Paul.
85. Scott, you
best
require
scones
48.
ever.
Absolutely. Last time it was rock cakes. They were delightful.
Oh, what? How am I just hearing about this?
28.
Rock cakes in Blackpool,
Ronnie
it just
requires
seemed
16.
appropriate.
I am a huge fan of them. Coincidentally, as Ron goes for double 2,
Game shot on the fourth.
he takes a 3-1 lead, and the
Ron
best
Meulenkamp.
rock cakes I've ever had, I had in Amsterdam. They are
Fifth leg, it's
very
Scott to
much
throw
part
first.
of Dutch
Game
baking
on.
culture, and they make them fabulously. Make them small as well. See, that's the kind of thing I want with my mint tea. A little rock cake.
100.
Okay, so you don't mind a sweet thing on the side, but you're just not dunking any biscuits in
Just a
there.
wee one. And what we're going to have in the table, if
78.
Meulenkamp wins this game, is 3 people on 10 points. and 2 people on 4. We'd have that definitive trucker lineup of 10-4.
180.
And an ironic fist pump for himself there for ST. Can't call him the Saint because that's already the nickname of Alan Tabben, who was also a lefty
95.
and has played here before.
Yeah, I still think the best suggestion so far of the week has come from yourself for a nickname for Scott
100.
Taylor and Tenacious T.
Yeah, I wonder what he likes with his Tenacious T. Does he like a rock cake or a bicky? That'd be a really good brand of tea. If it's got a lot of
100.
caffeine
Scott
in it.
Taylor, 121.
Have your Tenacious Tea to start your day. Oh,
Game shot
beautiful.
the 5th leg. Scott
Somebody's
Taylor.
woken up. There's 0.06 between them, and the averages here, both on 83 and a little bit more.
Run to throw first. Game on.
But that was more like it. Scott will be going through the emotions leading into Saturday night, because he's almost
60.
replicated exactly what he did when he made his previous Champions Night appearance. Played in A, played in B, he's going to Saturday.
96.
However, on this occasion, he's won the group in Group B. He's not finished 3rd.
Yeah, Taylor first to book his place from this group
137.
into Champions Night. The job done quite early for him.
140.
You getting the feeling that maybe Scott's got a second wind here? He looks a bit more in tune with the game now, whereas earlier on,
60.
he was just feeling a bit cheesed off.
I don't know if it's a second win, a third win, a fourth win by this time. But whatever it is, he's
58.
found an extra gear.
Yeah, he's definitely had more wind than Tornado Alley.
$45.
Ron's not going to be happy with leaving 199.
No, I think the way he threw that last night, he
95.
was very disappointed in the second.
This is interesting. 76 leaves 123. Could have tried for a 159 there to leave tops, but decided to start on 19s.
Scott, your record
Someone's got me thinking.
112.
It's beyond thinking time now.
I'm like Hugh Grant, and I'm still thinking.
Game shot on the 6th.
We have a one-leg
Scott
shootout
Taylor.
to finish game 9. I, for a second, thought that Taylor was going to do the old
7th
Littler
and
trick
final
there
leg,
on
Scott to throw first.
2 treble 18s and double
Game
2.
on.
Could have been a sliding doors moment, that shot. Had Littler hit the single 18 on that shot
76.
in set 7 of the World Final, would he have hit tops? We'll never know. If Littler had won that
100.
final, just how big a story would it have been?
I mean, just look how big it was, and he didn't win the final.
60.
I think he's captured the imagination and the attention of a global audience far wider stretching than we've ever had before.
I think he might be enjoying a very well-deserved day off today. Unless he's planning to go and play in the pairs at the Scottish Open.
Yeah, no, I think those days are a bit behind him already. Knowing Luke, he's probably sat there playing
100.
FIFA.
If I were him, I'd go home and sleep for a couple of days and get ready for Monday. Is Taylor going to start in the
60.
19s with his next shot? You would fancy so. We've had 6 hits on double in this match from 18 attempts. Exactly 33%.
95.
And Scott Taylor could win this group. Well, he's already won the group. but rubber stamp it or full stop it, however you want to say it, with a wonderful big fish out.
130.
Yeah, that visit there from Moolenkamp really is tapping on the shoulder now of Taylor, who can't find the big fish.
95.
Like Laura said earlier, only
Roger
one
requires
person has
62.
beaten Scott Taylor in this group. That's Rhys Colleen, who's done it twice. Is that about to change?
46.
Maybe not.
Scott, you requires 75.
Scott has not faced many match darts at all here this week. And he's not going to face any more because he wins the group with 12 points. They're both going to Saturday night. So rest up, guys. We'll see you in about 19 hours' time. That's Taylor's average, and his doubles were excellent in that game. Eventually, after a slow start, he wins it by 4 legs to 3.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where we're joined alongside the man who's topped the pile as far as Group B is concerned, Scott Taylor. Scott, many congratulations. It's a return to Champions Night for yourself. Just sum up the last couple of days in Group B from your perspective.
Tough work. A lot of good players in this group, but I did enough to get through, and especially today I was pretty poor, to be honest, but just did enough in the first couple of games to get through, really.
In terms of going into this group, on the back of what happened in Group A, you and Tom are fighting all the way to the line. What was the thought process between Wednesday and Thursday to come in fresh?
Tom was great, so I just got to take your hats off. I have 24 points in the Champions League. You normally get through, but you just got to take your hats off. He's lost 2 games there, and one of them was to me, so fair play.
Going back to tonight, was it just about getting through at all costs?
Yeah, definitely. All week, it doesn't matter how you get through. It's just that you're there on Saturday. It starts again, so it don't matter.
How's the energy levels? Because you played the whole of last week, you've now played the whole of this week, you've got to play one more day tomorrow night. Are you now just trying to ride the adrenaline wave a little bit?
Oh, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. It's not good at all. But
fight through it and see what happens tomorrow.
Back in the big night, back in the big occasion. You're one of only a handful of players to have made it through to 2 Champions Nights here at the MODUS Super Series. Firstly, what does that say about yourself? And B, how proud an accolade is that for you?
I'm a lot better than I was the first time. And to be fair, I thought it was out. I was 3-0 down to Jonathan Worsley, and then the computer went off for 1-4-3, and then I needed Jonathan to lose as well. So it was a crazy night, to be fair, and then I got beat by Luke. So it was what it was.
Got through to the semi-finals last time you were here. How much would you love it if you could go a couple of sets better and lift the big trophy this time?
That's the main goal. That's the main goal of the whole year, really. But just concentrate on 4 games away from it now. So just need to win them.
Considering all you've done in the game so far in your career, would a trophy like this almost categorise what you have done in this game? Is that maybe the one thing you're lacking?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I've not achieved what I can, but this is. I feel like I'm playing well enough to. I feel like I deserve it, really. But if it don't happen, it don't happen. I'll come back and try again.
Well, Scott, we're looking forward to watching you tomorrow night. Many, many congratulations. Thank you very much for your time. We've got one more game to go for you in terms of qualification matches here at the MODUS Super Series, because tomorrow the action gets serious. It will be Champions Night. Right, let's get to the commentary box for one final time this evening and join Paul Nicholson, who's alongside Laura Turner.
Yeah, let's get cracking with the last game. What a great interview that was. He has been so frank with his words over the last couple of weeks. Every interview that Scott Taylor has done, I've been hanging on every word. But if you want to look at the honesty of Taylor, it was bang on with the word bad. Great question from Henry. How are the energy levels? Bad. It's bad. It's hard playing 2 straight weeks. Chris Mason has told us that it was bad enough playing a full week in week 12 and then half a week in Champions Week. Scott Taylor has done it full week. He will be itching to get some rest tonight, and we sincerely hope he is full of beans when it comes
First leg, it's Andy
to Saturday night from 7:30.
Game on.
But these 2 are going to be leaving us. The other 3 are all safely through and on the way out of the building.
100.
But we will see you again.
You're going to veer in on me. Don't know when. I don't know where. Don't know when.
100.
Oh, we know where.
We do know where.
$59.
Well, Andy has always worked really hard when he came through the doors.
59.
He's got himself a weekly title and 2 visits to Champions Week. Well, 2 weekly titles and 2 visits to Champions Week. But maybe when Webster comes back, maybe the goal is to get to the end of the rainbow in the week. He came here as a runner-up from week 10. The champion of that week is going to Saturday in Tom Sykes. And maybe that should be one of his goals for the year, to get what Andy has done twice.
100.
Yeah, I agree, because obviously this edition of Champions Week, we have got a few runners up in it, and that's not the norm. It's just the circumstance of the time of year, losing a few players to the Pro Tour.
I don't think that will happen in Series 7.
105.
As we go into the late winter and early spring, and the darts calendar gets even more
47.
frantic.
And he required 41.
Another word there.
Frantic.
9.
Well, Darren's not going to do anything with 168.
100.
I think both of these guys are going to be severely disappointed. Maybe with more experience than all of the others combined, but here's another word that they use in Newcastle a lot to describe that shot at double 16.
Darren to throw first. Game on.
Mint.
Yep, that is one that I do know.
140.
I think every area of the country's got a favourite word to describe something good. If you go to Wales, everything's lush. We've got a couple up north. We've got belter, mint,
banging,
canny,
I associate that more kind of with Scotland.
81.
Can he? Well, Andy would tell you.
$60.
I watched an edition of the Hairy Bikers recently. It's really, really good. They were on the Isle of Bute. And they were at this
43.
really incredible bakery run by some people who had gone to live there from Syria. And the guy that was doing this ingenious stuff in the kitchen, award-winning bakery for that matter, had the most amazing Syrian-Scottish hybrid accent. It was amazing.
100.
I wonder what kind of words he's got.
Yeah, possibly a few in the locker, but I just noticed there's been a theme of our conversation, and I think we might be getting slightly peckish because it's back to baked products.
Yeah. Baked goods is always a good way to speak to me.
97. And he requires 76.
Well, this will give him a 2-0 lead in a quest for 4 for the last time in this series.
Game shot on the second leg.
He's coasting
Andy
along.
Bolton.
And in his previous match, he beat Ron Meulenkamp by 4 legs to 0.
So that gets Andy to throw first. Game on.
Could be looking to do the dirty double.
Yeah, and you mentioned both these players are going to probably come away from this Champions Week feeling a little bit disappointed.
180.
There you see the Andy Bolton jiggle. But I genuinely think they're going to come away feeling disappointed for different reasons, because Andy has been just unfortunate. He's come up against players who've just taken those chances. For me, Darren just has really underperformed.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think you would say the same.
180.
Well, there should be some way to say goodbye. What you got in the locker, Andy?
140.
You hit this, I want the biggest jiggle you've ever had. Oh, we wanted that so badly.
But when you think it's 10 to 1 in the
45.
morning and Andy Bolton out at the tournament has just gone back-to-back 180s in the very last match.
It's probably one of the reasons why he's
30.
being a great
And he requires
tournament
96.
player, because he can just go and go and go and go. Double 18. It's not a
78.
12 darter, but it could be something similar when he returns.
121. And he requires 18.
Straight for double 9.
Game shot on
That'll
the third
do.
leg. Andy
Averaging
Bolton.
98. Rather efficient on the doubles. And it just goes to
Well,
show,
Darren
doesn't
to throw
it?
first.
We
Game
spoke
on.
about it all week. When we do his numbers, he comes up with a 90 average pretty much every day at least.
121.
This week, the best compliment you can pay this week for the people who have succeeded is that Andy's 90 average has not been enough.
123.
No, it really hasn't. He's just come unstuck at the wrong times, and let's be honest, he's backing up that 4-0 win over Ron Meulenkamp with potentially another 4-0 win here against Darren Webster. In the words of Alanis Morissette, isn't it ironic?
140. $140.
Notice how Scott Taylor said the word bad in the funniest possible way.
Yep.
Energy levels, oh, they're bad. So
100.
funny.
It was just said with comedic timing, but also it was the most positive thing that he actually said in
Oh,
response
yeah.
to the question.
I love a bit of honesty. That takes the honesty
60.
trophy of the
And he
week
requires
so far.
138.
But Darren would feel bad if he loses 4-0. Well, what does Andy want to do from here?
127.
Finds the bullseye.
Darren, he requires
Not the
80.
intended target. Webster needs to hit single for double.
60. And he requires
And can't
11.
find the target. So 11 for Andy Bolton for a consecutive 4-0 win.
Game shot and the
And
match.
there you have it. Andy Bolton
Andy
finishes
Bolton.
off this Group B action with a 4-0 win over Darren Webster. Andy Bolton will probably look back at this Group B session and just realise just been unlucky, but there he is. He's still smiling, he's happy, and he posted his best average so far, 100.20. And as I say, that is a 4-0 win. Dan Webster posting an 89.55, but for him, just maybe a bit of disappointment for this campaign. But if we can go over to the studio where Paul Nicholson has joined Henry Deacon.
Thank you very much, Laura. And so that is it as far as qualification in Champions Week in the MODUS Super Series is concerned. Paul Nicholson's been watching every single dart from the commentary box. He joins us here now. First and foremost, let's talk about Andy Bolton, because he put in some real good performances this week, but maybe timing let him down this time around.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, especially in A when he was up against Sykes and Taylor. He just wasn't able to do what they were doing. And it just so happens that he finds his best performances towards the end of a Group B campaign when everybody's finished their campaign. So, tough on Andy. I know he really wanted to make Champions Night, but not on this occasion. But that 100 average at the end, it just goes to show that he's got the staying power to make it to the end of the night. He just wasn't able to get to the very end of the campaign. So, I'm sad for Andy because I know how much he wants to win this trophy, but I'm sure he'll have another crack.
But at least we got to see a juicy wiggle, so you know, everyone's a winner in that particular respect. Right, let's show you what we have seen then this evening. These are the results from Friday night's action. It began with a victory for Rhys Colley against Andy Bolton, and it was all done at the halfway stage of the evening. Will Moonekamp, Scott Taylor and Rhys Colley all doing their job quite early on, and then in fairness as well, the race to marry up all the positions, well, that was kind of done and dusted quite quickly. We thought we were going to have a night of drama. If anything, it was pretty routine.
Yeah, it was. The separation was created by Rhys Colley in his first couple of games, and he stretched the field between the top three and the bottom two. So he's done himself a lot of credit, but he also did a few favours for the others in the top three as well. Just managed to keep the likes of Bolton and Webster at bay. So a great job by the top three, but now the job is very different. The cutthroat nature of Saturday night is very different to that of any group they've played this week, and they've all been there before.
Let's talk about Scott Taylor. We could talk about Scott all night, really, because there's so many different storylines about him. I want to begin by talking about the energy levels. I spoke to him downstairs a second or so ago, and he said he is basically running on empty. It's so hard when you win week 12 and you go back to back. Yes, you've got that momentum factor, but when you play 5 days and 5 days, it does drain.
Yeah, I've been there, actually. I know how Scott is feeling when you've played day on day on day on day, and all you want is just that one day off where you can just refresh the lungs and just find a way to be the best possible version of yourself. And having one day off will probably give you that, but he doesn't have a day off. He's got half a day to reset his batteries, recharge them, and be the best version of himself, because I just get the feeling he's going to need to be that against the very dangerous Tom Sykes and some people from other groups.
He's the only player that's been in the room on the night where this trophy has been up for collection. Does that work to his mind? Because he knows what this particular occasion is like. He knows what a Champions Night is like. He knows the ins and outs of it from before.
There are players in Champions Night that have been in front of raucous crowds before. Remember the Circus Tavern for John O'Shea in 2019? That was a hot, steamy Sunday when he won that tournament. But a lot of these players, when they come into this atmosphere for the very first time, they will feel uncertain as to what they are going to get. Scott knows exactly what he's coming into tomorrow, and I think it does play a part. And is he playing better than he was the last time he was here on a Champions Night? Absolutely.
Let's have a chat about Rhys Colley then. He made his way through at the midway point of the evening, and it feels like a player very much in his evolution stage, and feels like a player that's evolutionising step by step. He won his breakthrough WDF title in 2022, made his Lakeside debut and his England debut in 2023, and now in 2024 wins a week here and is playing for a major title.
Yeah, he's definitely moving in the right direction, but I think at a very attainable rate, and that excites me. Because sometimes when you've got someone who is grabbing all the headlines in World Darts and they're doing it at this meteoric rate, we have to communicate to the majority of the other players, like Colley and some others, that that's not particularly how your journey is going to go. Reece has been on the scene for a few years and he's continually improving. So that's how his evolution is being created. And he's okay with that. I think he's just got to have a bit more patience than some of these blowout superstars like we've had with Leighton Bennett and Luke Littler and some of the young girls that are coming through, like Bo Greaves. So great evolution over the last few years, but maybe he can just speed up a little bit and get his fingerprints on that in the next 24 hours.
As far as Ron Meulenkamp is concerned, do you think maybe we'll see the best of him tomorrow night? Look, we know what happened last night going into this evening. That may have had a possible effect in 1 or 2 matches. In the light of day, when tomorrow comes, it's a clearer sky and all the rest of it, and he's playing for this, do you feel like we may see the best version of Ron Meulenkamp? The Ron Meulenkamp who averaged 91 over the week to be runner-up to Chris Lamb.
Maybe. You're talking about a player who has an awful lot of experience. But I've been thinking about this for the last few hours. You think about Crabtree and O'Shea, they will feel that if they can hit their top gear, that maybe they can grasp this trophy come 11:30 Saturday night. But Ron, who has at times shown some excellent stuff, I think he's the one person who's got a free hit. Mm-hmm. He's the one person who's really not expected to come and win this because of finishing third in this group and everything that's happened in the last 24 hours. Has he been distracted? There'll be lots of narratives in a somewhat negative sense. My advice to Ron would be, turn up Saturday night, go and have a blast. No pun intended. See what happens. What's the worst that can happen? I think there are other players under way more pressure than him.
Well, let's have a look then at the table just to confirm how the players made it through. Taylor from Colley from Meulenkamp, they're the top 3 in that group. Andy Bolton and Dan Webster have been great additions to Champions League, but that is the end of the road as far as that is concerned. So we now know the 6 players that will be playing for the MODUS Super Series trophy tomorrow night. And this is how they got there. Tom Sykes has had 2 days of sitting back, relaxing and enjoying himself, watching everybody else go through the ringer. He won Group A on Wednesday afternoon. This afternoon, we saw one of the most exciting young talents in the sport, Cam Crabtree, book his place into the Super 6, with John O'Shea making it through as runners-up, and the former Masters champion could become the Super Series champion. Group B, as we saw tonight, is Taylor from Colley from Meulenkamp. And as far as the final 6 lineup is concerned, we've had previous series here in the past, haven't we, where we've had Luke Littler dominate. Darryl Pilgrim's gone in a big favourite. Raymond Smith's gone in a big favourite in the past. But this time round, this feels very, very open.
I think that can be one of the ways you look at it. If we look at the form book coming into this, I think there are 2 heavy favourites, Taylor and Sykes. Everybody else is playing catch-up. The numbers won't lie. When we're here at 7:30 on Saturday night, those numbers will prove that those 2 are expected to be the ones to beat. That will be the case.
Well, we can confirm as well the fixtures for tomorrow night. This is how Group 1 looks. Tom Sykes against John O'Shea is the opening match. It'll be followed by Taylor and Meulenkamp, O'Shea against Colley, Meulenkamp Crabtree, Colley against Sykes, Crabtree up against Scott Taylor. That could be a real horrid one in Group 2. Just having a look at them fixtures. As far as Tom Sykes is concerned, that is a horrid opener against John O'Shea, having not played for a couple of days.
Well, if you look at it this way, John started to play better in Champions League for me than he did last week. And looking at the way they qualified, they both qualified very late in the schedule. Sykes came from 10. John came from week 12, so the freshness and the readiness will be there. But as far as Champions Night is concerned, you're not going to get any easy starts. This cutthroat format, you've got to get out the blocks. One thing that Tom will be very, very aware of is that when he played on Wednesday, he didn't get a good start, but he did respond well. All of these patterns of behaviour, I'm sure he'll be thinking about. But if he gets a bad start against John, the pressure will be ramped when he comes up against his second opponent.
And as far as John O'Shea is concerned, you look at those lists of players, you've got the likes of Crabtree who's done well on the Challenge Tour before, Scott Taylor who's won Challenge Tours in the past, but John O'Shea is the only player in that lineup who has won a massive televised event in the Masters. Does that give him a possible advantage?
You'd have to ask John that, and he might give you quite a detailed answer, which everybody would want to listen to. I'm not sure it does, if I'm honest. I think experience tells in this building. That's why Scott Taylor comes into this really raring to go. And Sykes, let's not forget, he's playing at a higher level than John right now and has played here more than John has. I think if we gauge people on what happened 4 years ago, it's a dangerous precedent. So let's focus on what they're doing this week. And if we are, it's definitely Taylor and Sykes.
To put you on the spot, which one do you reckon takes it?
One of Taylor or Sykes.
I knew he was going to sit on the fence.
Can't let everything go, can we?
Well, Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure to have your company today, and it's going to be suited, booted, ready for tomorrow night to see a list set, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Bring it on.
Bring it on, indeed. Well, what a mammoth Championship Friday we have seen. And so we now know the identity of the 6 players that will be competing for this trophy and a place in the history books, £20,000, and to join a list of names that include Luke Littler, Conan Whitehead, Jim McEwen and Raymond Smith in the MODUS Super Series winners enclosure. We're going to be live with you tomorrow evening from 7:30 p.m. from the live lounge here in Portsmouth on the MODUS Super Series YouTube channel. We'll then be transmitting live on Sporty Stuff TV from 10, with the winner being crowned a little over 11:15 tomorrow evening. So it's going to be an enthralling day of arrows and a night of arrows as well. So do join myself, Paul, Law and the whole team here at the Super Series from 7:30. But as far as Group B is concerned, well, it was Scott, that was the Taylor, who had all the power tonight.
Until you give me one. But he's had one of these hit against him already today, has Steve Hine, and there's another one.
Doesn't have the longest streak of wins. Scott Taylor has got a 1-4-1 though for a 15-darter. Taylor for 112 to stop Ross from getting a shot at that very number. Double top.
That's
why we rate him, because he's just very, very good.